Wang.
你好，王先生。
Could you please turn on your video, Mr. Wang?
能不能打开你的视频？
你好, Mr. Wang.
王先生你好。
Hello.
听到我的说话吗？
能听到你。Can you hear? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you. Can you please
Okay.
open your video?
能不能打开你的摄像头？
Okay, right now I try.
谢谢。
You are welcome.
Are you able to open your video, Mr. Wang?
Okay, right now I trying open to video. Waiting. Sorry.
Thank you. It's all right. We'll wait. So Mr. Wang is just setting up his computer camera.
Okay.
Okay, we can see you also now. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Wang.
Yeah.
So I'll ask my first question. During
Okay.
during the time you and Mr. She were in prison together, you were allowed to have visitors, right?
第一个问题，你跟是浙江先生在监狱期间，你们被允许接待访客吗？
Madam Chairperson，在2023年9月20日，佘志江先生通过国际媒体发布那个不自杀声明之前，他是允许被探视的。但是不自杀声明发布之后，他的那个探视权就被限制了。自从那次之后的话，他就多次被关禁闭。目前他已经在泰国的死囚犯监狱里面关闭近2个月了。
Okay, so in the interview that was done in 2023 in September, so he was allowed to receive interviews from international media, but after that, his visitation was restricted, and he has been kept in Thailand in a restricted area for 2 months already.
See. And that
还有
interview, yes,
还有
Mr. Wang.
yes，全世界都知道中泰两国抓捕他的理由是所谓的经营赌场罪，而且这个所谓的经营赌场罪其实是2013年佘志江先生在菲律宾经营的合法的博彩生意。我们也不止一次强调了这一点，但是中泰两国完全无视了我们提供的证据。如果在菲律宾经营合法的博彩生意也是犯罪的话，那么犯罪的就不是佘志江先生一个人，而是菲律宾整个国家都犯了中国的那个经营赌场罪了。很显然， 中国的执法权越界了，这其实是一场政治清洗和迫害。麻烦翻译先翻译一下，然后我稍后还有一些话。
好的，我会尽量把你说的话就翻译，因为有点长，所以如果有缺了一些，麻烦你来补充一下好吗？Okay, so
好
let
的。
me just translate it in the best possible way that I can. So, all right. So there is like a cooperation between China and Thailand, wherein they deem that the operations of Mr. She are illegal, especially in operating the gambling operations. And actually, in 2013, in the Philippines, the operations that Mr. She has is actually legal. Okay, but because of the China and Thailand their agreement, so this is considered illegal. So if this is the case, that this kind of gambling is considered illegal, then it's not only Mr. She who should be condemned, because he is working together with a group of people. And it is also possible that if this is considered illegal, other people in the Philippines would also be condemned. So it's actually a matter of like the agreement between the two countries.
Oh, all right. Let's
还有
backtrack a bit. Let's backtrack a bit. I want to ask follow-up questions
嗯
about what you first said. Now, you said that previously, Mr. She was allowed to have visitors, including interviewers. But after that interview, and I presume you're referring to the Al Jazeera interview, his access to visitors was restricted, and you said for 2 months now. Aside from that, and in more detail, was there a change in the circumstances of Mr. She after the Al Jazeera interview and after the Zoom interview by my office?
我们先回复一下刚才你回答的，关于这个佘先生，你说就是他接受采访之后，从那个国际媒体接受采访之后，你说他被他的这些采访被控制了，那之后呢，之后他的情况是如何改变呢？特别是我们听证会之后有播放的这个视频，他的情况有如何改变？
在半岛的那个采访播出和参与会的那个听证会之后，佘志阳先生就被泰国关进了那个泰国的中央监狱的那个死囚室，而且遭到了狱警的长时间殴打，而且还禁止他验伤就医，至今已经瘫痪无法行走，然后坐在轮椅上生活不能够自理。监狱方拒绝提供视频和拒绝回答一切律师和所有媒体的问题。我们是通过佘志阳先生的人权律师得到消息的。然后之前已经说了，就是泰国跟佘志阳先生是没有任何矛盾的，然后佘志阳先生也从来没有违反泰国的法律，甚至可以讲佘志阳先生从未触犯过任何国家的法律。所以说佘志阳先生在泰国遭受的一切恐怖迫害都来自中国政府的指使，这就是根本的原因。如果中国政府真的只是因为经营赌场罪而抓捕佘志阳先生的话，那么佘志阳先生可以随便和包括菲律宾政府在内的所有外界人员对话和联系。一个小小的经营赌场罪为什么会有那么高级别的政府保密措施？经营赌场的罪名，而且是带引渡人员，需要关押在那个死刑犯的监狱里面吗？而且还给他穿上那个死刑犯的衣服，还戴上那个死刑犯的那个脚镣，而且还禁止亲属给他存在监狱里面的生活费。据我所知，菲律宾政府已经用各种外交方式想探访佘志阳先生，但这些都被泰国政府拒绝了。这本身就说明了这个案子根本与那个经营赌场罪无关。泰国政府跟佘志阳先生的这个案子也没有任何的关系。拒绝菲律宾外交探访的是中国政府，包括挑起菲律宾政府混乱和政坛仇恨的幕后黑手，也是中国的情报部门。中国希望让郭华平的案子在混乱和内斗中不了了之，这也是大家联系佘志阳先生困难的原因。 其实幕后的那个东方大国才是一切问题的根源。好的，翻译比较长。
我能翻译一下，就是要回答参议员的问题吗？OK，就是首先前几句。OK，so let me just translate first the answer to your question, Madam Chair. Actually, after the interview with Al Jazeera and after the Senate hearing, so Mr. She was actually moved to a more stricter area, that is the central jail, or something that is in the center of Thailand. So he has been there for quite some time now, and because of that, he also his movements is not also convenient, and the only information that we got are from the lawyer, because his communication was also restricted. And going back, just to summarize what Mr. Wang was telling about the case. So actually, this case is also if this case is considered illegal, so that's what he was saying, that means it would also involve the people in the Philippines, the politicians in the Philippines as well. So yes, so that is the summary of what was said by Mr. Wang a while ago.
All right, thank you. I'll go back and forth with your answers to my questions because there are things I want to follow up. Mr. Wang, how do you know that Mr. She's circumstances changed? How do you know that he was transferred to a stricter area and all the details you have given us?
OK，王先生，我们再问一下关于刚才的问题。那你怎么知道，这个佘先生他就被关在那个中央的监狱呢？你是如何得到这个信息？
因为是那个佘志阳先生的那个人权律师那边给我们反馈的消息。
This was the news that was brought to us by the attorney of Mr. She.
Okay. And what do you think caused it, Mr. Wang? Why do you think Mr. She was transferred and all these other details that you told us?
你觉得为什么佘先生会搬到这个中央的监狱呢？
因为的话，这个就是听证会还有那个采访播出之后，这个原因的话，有可能是激怒了中共，还有那个就是一些方面的原因吧。就是佘志阳先生就是掌握了太多的机密，所以说才激怒了中共，中共才会指使就是泰国政府就是把佘志阳先生就是转换到那个最严格的监狱当中。
So the reason why that he was put in the strictest condition, it's because he is holding a lot of confidential information.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wang. Now, Mr. Wang, you have said repeatedly that we need to talk to Mr. She. Why do you think it is urgent to speak to Mr. She?
王先生，你一直重复要我们跟佘先生谈谈，那你为什么觉得跟佘先生谈很重要呢？
实话说，现在我们很多外界真的不能确定就是佘志阳先生的目前的那个健康状况，甚至也不能就是确定他是否还活着。就是佘志阳留给我保管的一些那个解密档案，有大量的那些就是解密是需要他本人授权的，而且我们希望在保证佘志阳先生安全的情况下，就是向世界大众公开他们。跟佘志阳先生通话是非常重要的，就是包括菲律宾政府想要的资料，都应该就是需要得到他本人的授权。因为我只是一个那个资料的保管者，所以说我们有权利就是私自处理和解密他们。
Okay. So actually, right now, I could not confirm if he is still alive because for me, I am just the one who's safekeeping the documents, but I don't have the authority to reveal this confidential information that he has. So I think that is the reason why he was moved into this more stricter condition.
Why do you say that you can't confirm if Mr. She is still alive, Mr. Wang?
你刚才说你没办法确认佘先生现在还活着，为什么这样说呢？
因为的话，泰国的监狱方已经就是断绝了那个佘志亮先生对外的一切联系。这个是目前佘志亮先生的状况，就是我们也无法就是联系到佘志亮先生，包括他的亲属也无法联系到佘志亮先生本人。
Okay, because all communications with Mr. She have been prohibited since then, and we really do not know what is happening to him right now, and even his family members do not have contact with him.
See. And speaking of, you can't confirm if he's still alive or in life and death questions. Is that a bulletproof vest you're wearing, Mr. Wang?
王先生，你现在穿的是这个访谈衣服吗
对的。
？Yes, correct.
Why are you wearing a bulletproof vest, Mr. Wang?
为什么穿这个访谈衣服呢？
是为了个人的安全吧，因为的话，就是某些势力，就是他们都能够通过那个泰国高级别的那个严格的监狱，能够把佘志亮先生就是虐待殴打，然后导致他瘫痪，所以说他们在背后那个强大的实力是不能忽视的，所以说安全问题是必须要注意的。
I'm wearing this for my own personal safety because we do not know how strong the Thai government are, especially because I know that the Thai government, they are keeping Mr. She right now. We do not know if he is experiencing torture, being hit, or any other violent things. So we do not know the safety or the strength of the Thai government.
Right. Well, you stay
我是
safe,
在担
Mr.
心
Wang. And just for the record, I would like to make of record that the committee does not necessarily endorse the expressions of concern about the Thai government, but do stay safe, Mr. Wang. And I have a few more questions for you, but just for you to know, we will ask the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs to communicate to Thai authorities that Mr. She's safety needs to be confirmed, Mr. Wang.
OK，希望你在那边会很安全但是我们会通过我们的外交部来跟那个泰国的警部或是泰国的政府跟他们沟通，让你的安全来保护你的这个个人的安全。那我们接下来还有其他的问题。
Now, Mr. Wang, yes.
OK，
Mr. Wang, did Mr. She tell you about the intelligence activities that he did for the Ministry of State Security?
请问史先生有没有跟你说关于他在国家安全部的一些情报的活动呢？
他是有说过，他也承认他是那个国安部的那个干员，就是他其实的话就是早就担忧过自己的那个处境很危险嘛，因为中国的那个政治斗争近几十年来非常激烈，他所从事的统战，还有一带一路和政府渗透的工作所涉及的内容非常的复杂，而且还涉及了大量的资产，所以根本无法预测自己的安危。为此呢，他早就开始了一些那些敏感资料的备份。
Okay. Yes, Mr. She has already admitted to me before that he has indeed been part of this Ministry of Security in China, but he also admitted about being part of the work in the Belt and Road Initiative, and also because this actually involves other assets and it's very complicated, and there are a lot more confidential information about this.
And I guess that speaks to what the Deputy Director General said about the nexus between economic activities and other activities, including criminal activities, and that angle of possible espionage. And Mr. Wang, there is information from some netizens that Mr. She, there's information from some netizens that Mr. She instigated a prison assault. Can you speak to that?
有一个报告就说史先生他就开始这个在监狱里面的一些打击，你能不能更详细的说一下？
就是他在监狱里面就是被虐待殴打的情况嘛。
就是他有开启一种打击这样反击，有没有这
呃
种？
呃，是什么方面的反击呢？就是他在监狱里面是什么方面的反击，还是他就是在监狱里面就是被虐待殴打的情况？麻烦就是清楚的解释一下。
Okay. So
嗯。
this kind of assault, can you please explain, Madam Chair, what kind of assault was this?
It's all right. We just received this information from some netizens on the internet. So that's all the detail I can provide about it. I can go on to my last few questions, Mr. Wang. What did you mean when you said there are many spies and they're not all Chinese?
你说有很多间谍，但不是所有都是中国人，你如何能解释？
佘亮先生曾经跟我说过，就是中国的那个间谍组织是非常庞大而且复杂的，就是他所在的国安系统也是其中的一个系统，而且他们的目标非常的多元化，不只是针对海外的华人，还有很多国家的富商，就是都曾经为中国的那个间谍组织工作，所以说中国的间谍渗透不仅仅是招募华人。也有著名的菲律宾政界人士和商界人士，但是这个需要问佘江先生本人，他应该很清楚这方面的事情，但很可以确定的是，马东立是菲律宾谍报活动的关键人物，因为佘江先生在菲律宾接触的政商人物都是马东立对接安排的。
So actually, the question about this is a bit complicated because it's not only they are not only targeting Chinese, but they are also targeting some Filipinos or other members of in the government. So it is wide and it's complicated. And if you want to know the details, we have to ask Mr. She personally. And actually, about Ma Dongli, he is actually the one who introduced these people to Mr. She. He's like the bridge introducing these people. So he is actually the more important or key person here.
Yes, Madongli does seem to be very important. But Mr. Wang, did you also mean that there are Filipinos working against the interests of the Philippines?
你刚才说的意思就是，也有一些菲律宾人，就是好像在反对，或是就是在背叛我们菲律宾国家吗？
是的，就是据佘志亮先生所掌握的，就是他掌握的一些资料来说是的，但是这些资料的
Good morning mga kabalen. Good morning mga karehiyon. Welcome po sa CLTV 36 news stream. Opo, kayo po ay nakatutok dito sa ating tuloy-tuloy na pagbabalita. Ngayon pong November 26, araw na ho ng Martes. Kasama niyo po ang inyong news streamer Justin Dizon, nagbabantay sa iba't ibang kaganapan. Opo, hindi lamang dito sa Pampanga, hindi lamang sa Central Luzon, kundi maging sa buong bansa. Ito, nasa spotlight ang ating rehiyon, ang ating lalawigan, sa mga iba't ibang usapin sa pambansang pambansang eksena po, national scene, sa pambansang mga polisiya rin, kaugnay ho ng mga pambansang polisiya. Dahil ito, ongoing ngayon, ito pong Senate hearing, ang huling Senate hearing ukol sa Pogo at sa sinibak na alkalde ng Bamban Tarlac na si Alice Go o aka Guo Haping. At mamaya hong hapon mga kabalen, ay magkakaroon din ng pagdinig naman sa Kamara, sa lower chamber naman po ng House o ng Kongreso, sa House of Representatives. Mamaya pong hapon yan, yung Quad Committee Oo, iimbestigahan, tatalakayin ho itong naging panawagan ni Pampanga 3rd District Representative and Senior Deputy Speaker Dong Gonzales na magkaroon ng investigation in aid of legislation sa mga serye ho ng pagpatay sa mga lokal na opisyal dito sa Pampanga. Yan ho mga kabalen ang tututukan ng buong puwersa ng CLTV 36 News ngayon pong araw ng Martes, November 26. Pero bago pong lahat, bago tayo umabot dyan, tutukan muna natin. Ito kang isinasagawang pagdinig dahil related din ito, hindi lamang sa Central Luzon o hindi lamang sa Pampanga, sa buong bansa ho ito. Pero ito ang focus nga ay ito ang ating rehiyon, yung particular, itong Bamban Tarlac at itong Porac Pampanga. So narito po, pagpatuloy natin ang panonood sa ongoing committee hearing ng Senado kaugnay po ng Pogo at ni dating Bamban Mayor Alice Go.
还是需要，还是那句话，还是需要就是菲律宾政府去就是直接与佘志阳先生对话，可以获得那个更加有价值的一些情报吧。
Yes, there is. And just like what I said a while ago, it is better to communicate directly with Mr. She to be able to know the exact details of these answers.
I understand, Mr. Wang, and maybe later, Deputy General Asidillo, if there's a chance, we might want to comment on the other APT mentioned, APT 12, if it has come up in your investigations of the council of the authority, and if you're able to speak about it, APT 12 in open hearing. So just for my last set of questions for you this morning, Mr. Wang, why is it important for governments like the Philippines to speak to She?
最后一个问题，你觉得为什么一些国家的政府，比如说菲律宾政府，他们必须跟佘先生交谈？
他的确是掌握了那个非常大量的那些解密档案，就是郭华平间谍案的那些资料，只是我们手头上资料的很小很小的一部分。就是我们也希望所有世界的那些爱好和平与自由的那些国家政府来关注佘志阳先生被非法关押和遭受政治迫害的那个案件里面来，就是对接佘志阳先生，让佘志阳先生把他所掌握的一些证据和资料就是公布出来，就是阻止独裁专制政府他们的邪恶计划。
Okay, so the files that are in Mr. She's possession right now, they are really enormous. They are big. They're a lot, and for the countries who would like to advocate for peace, and for other countries, maybe this will be very useful for them. And we have to work together to stop this problem from continuing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wang. And finally, do you have a message for the Philippine government or for other governments who may be interested in the files of Xi Zhijiang?
你对我们菲律宾政府还有其他对这个档案有兴趣的国家有什么信息吗？
是说是除了菲律宾以外的其他国家吗？
是的。
美国和英国吧，就是美国和英国，就是佘志阳先生手头上有他们非常感兴趣的档案资料，就是我也希望美国和英国就是介入和关注佘志阳先生的案件，就是让更多的那个就是让更多的那个真相公布于天下。然后那个郭华平间谍案的资料只是我们手头上很小很小一部分的档案而已，就是还有更多的档案就是有待于解密和公布。
So I would like to advise other countries who are interested in this information, like to continue on following and to be attentive to all the information with the gathering of information, because in fact the information that we gave about Go Huaping is only a small portion of the big chunk of information that we have.
All right, Mr. Wang. 谢谢. Stay safe.
You are
And
welcome.
as I said earlier,
Okay.
we will ask our Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs to communicate to the Thai authorities that Mr. Shi's safety needs to be confirmed.
非常感谢王先生。那我刚才说过，我们会跟外交部跟他们交流，就是能够保证您的安全。
好的，就是我现在不在泰国，就是我也不能说我具体在什么地方，就是也是非常感谢，就是也希望你们就是菲律宾政府就是更加就是联系泰国政府，就是督促泰国政府更加关注佘志强先生本人的安全。
In fact, I am not in Thailand right now, and I could not reveal where I am right now. But what I wanted to say is that for the Philippines to ensure the safety of Mr. Shi.
So we will ask our Department of Foreign Affairs to do what they can. So again, Mr. Wang, thank you and take care.
非常感谢。
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Thank you. Deputy Director General, in your opinion, is obtaining those files valuable to the Philippines?
Very valuable, Madam Chair, because hopefully it will establish three things with regard to Mr. Ma Dongli, Mr. Xie Zhijiang, and even Go Huaping. Those documents will hopefully establish if they are bona fides, whether foreign intelligence officers, foreign intelligence agents, and who are their assets, especially here in the Philippines. The fact that, as claimed by, I'm sorry,
Wang Fugui.
Wang Fugui. Thank you, Madam Chair. The fact that Wang Fugui, according to him, that these documents are encrypted, this is very much in keeping with the type of security measures are in place, usually involving documents of this kind, Madam Chair. So they are of utmost importance. We, in fact, in the agency would be very, very interested in obtaining these documents.
And the committee shares the interest of NICA Deputy Director General. Any quick comment about the APT 12 mentioned by Wang Fugui?
Madam Chair, I'm currently awaiting feedback from my staff as to the extent of the APT activities here in the Philippines. Some of them have been identified specifically by number and by nickname. For convention, Madam Chair, APTs that are involved, that are Chinese affiliated, bear the name Panda. Yes, Madam Chair.
Panda.
Yes, Madam Chair. And those that are affiliated with Russia carry the naming convention Bear. So we're trying to, I'm still awaiting feedback from my staff as to which of the APTs that are affiliated with China have been monitored so far here in the Philippines.
Thank you, Deputy Director General. Pwedeng cute sana yung mga nickname, no? Kung hindi masama yung implikasyon sa sa ating bansa. So, thank you. And before we proceed, I just wish to state that, of course, Mr. Wang's statements will be weighed against the other testimonies and also against those received by the committee, documents received by, evidence received by the committee. All right. So I'd like to go next to, before Ceza and also Mr. Wang, I'd like to go to Mr. Yang, I'm sorry. I'd like to go first to the Department of Foreign Affairs, because I was about to say that I hope DFA took note of my assurance to Mr. Wang, what we would request the department on behalf of the safety of Mr. Shi, and also what the Deputy Director General said that those documents would be very valuable to us, and contacting Mr. Shi and uh, interviewing him further would be very valuable to us. Would it be Undersecretary Domingo to respond, sir? Could you please provide an update on the department's efforts to contact Shi Zhejiang? And could you tell us how long the cited MLAT process would take kung yun po yung ating dadaanang proseso?
Good morning, Madam Senator,
Good
dear
morning, sir.
colleagues. Yes, first we take due note, and we will take action on conveying to the Thai government the need to confirm, ensure the safety of Mr. Xie Zhejiang. On the
Thank you
ma-
so much for that, Yusek. That's quite urgent
Yes,
based on
madam.
what Mr. Wang has told us.
Yes,
Yes, sir,
madam.
please proceed.
Okay, so with respect to interviewing Mr. Xie Zhejiang, after making representations with the government of Thailand, so we have been informed by the Thai government that the matter of interviewing falls under the purview of the ASEAN Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance on criminal matters, as you have cited, ma'am, to which both Thailand and the Philippines are states parties. But the central authority under the ASEAN MLAT is the Department of Justice. So we had endorsed this to the Department of Justice for its appropriate action. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Yusek. But even if DOJ will pick up the baton from here on, kung MLAT po yung dadaanan nating proseso, ganong katagal-tatagal po yun?
Madam, it's difficult to say at this point, but as soon as we can find out more, we will duly inform you, ma'am.
Yes, please, sir, because the information we have is that it would take 1 year. And in matters of seemingly great urgency like this one, that might be just too long, and something happened both to the person and to the very valuable information that he reportedly holds and would be of great value to our country, sir.
Yes, Madam, we will also impress upon the Thai government the urgency of this matter and request for their soonest acceptance of the processing of our request. Of course, through this in coordination with the Department of Justice.
Thank you, Yusek. And in that request by your department and that of the Justice Department, that request for urgency that they soonest take action, kung ang average time sa ilalim ng MLAT ay 1 taon, may posibleng express lane ba ng MLAT that you could foresee could be taken by both governments, o parallel process sa MLAT para lang at the very least, no, masigurong buhay pa yung tao, safe siya, and ma-procure ng gobyerno natin yung mahalagang impormasyon niya.
Yes, Madam. On our part, we will really press the urgency of the matter, but perhaps, of course, the Department of Justice may be in a better position to ascertain the timelines on MLAT. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek. We will communicate with the department as well about that. Salamat po. And one more question at this point, Yusek. The department has made some findings on the co-conspirators of Jiang Ruijin and Lin Baoyin. These are co-incorporators of Guo Huaping in Bamban. Can you share these findings with the committee?
Ma'am, if I may just confer with my colleagues at this point, and may return to this shortly. Thank you.
Yes, you may, Yusek. Salamat po. I'll return to that also in a bit when you are ready. So now I'd like to, while we're waiting for the DFA's response to that question, may I ask our resource persons from CESA a couple of several questions. So will that be Attorney De Guzman?
Yes, Madam Chair, good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning po. So would you agree with me that perhaps it's not in our country's best interest to issue visas to foreign intelligence agents involved in espionage operations for a foreign country?
Yes, Madam Chair.
And can you confirm that CESA visas were indeed issued to Ma Dongli and Shi Zhejiang?
Madam Chair, per records of CESA, a visa was issued to Mr. She Zhejiang. It was issued last December 15, 2014, but was canceled July 8, 2016 after the resignation of Mr. She Zhejiang from a company who is a locator of CESA, who was a locator of CESA.
And which company was this, attorney?
It's Tiegan Supreme Networks Corporation, Madam Chair.
Kiegan?
Tiegan,
Tie-
Tiegan Supreme
Tiegan Supreme
Networks Corporation.
Networks Corporation. And what about to Ma Dongli? Was a CESA visa issued to him?
Unfortunately, Madam Chair, we will have to take a look at our records. We have only prepared records of Mr. Shezi Zhang.
Thank you,
We'll take
Attorney.
a look at it and submit it to your committee, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I'll see if I was able or not to show a CESA visa issued also to Ma Dongli for your confirmation. I think we have one. Did CESA, under its former administrator, have business transactions with Shi Zhejiang? And isn't it true that, in fact, Yatai Group entered into a memorandum of agreement with CESA, represented by its then administrator, Secretary Raul Lambino? Tama po ba yon?
Unfortunately, Madam Chair, I am not aware of those things, Madam Chair, because the former deputy administrator of CESA is no longer with the organization, and I have not been present during the administration of former administrator Raul Rambino. But we will get a hold of the records of CESA and inform your office, Madam Chair.
Thank you, attorney. But at least based on this report entitled Chinese Firm Invests $2 billion on Cagayan Isle, published in the Manila Times, reporting a $2 billion smart city on Fuga Island, which will be constructed under a memorandum of understanding between the CESA and the Xiamen-based Fengzi Enterprise Corp. It would be hard for a broadsheet to publish about an MOU between an economic zone authority and a foreign enterprise, also citing the quoting or citing the then CESA administrator and CEO Secretary Lambino. So, and that it would probably be true, right? If you could find this MOU in your files. And in fact, this news report we got from the CESA website, attorney.
Yes, Madam Chair, we are aware that there was a plan to develop Fuga Island, but during the administration of the current administrator, Secretary Katrina Ponce Enrile, she ensured that no development will be done in Fuga Island, as we are well aware of the significance of the island to national security. In fact, our administrator is currently coordinating closely with DND to ensure and protect the Fuga Island.
In fact, I even recall a position paper or a public statement issued in 2020 by the father of the current administrator and who is currently Chief Presidential Legal Counsel, Juan Ponce Enrile, laying out the points that you have just made, attorney. But I think it would stand to reason, common sense, that if we got this news report from the CESA website, then the facts stated therein must actually be facts. Tama po?
I suppose so, Madam
All
Chair.
right. Thank you, attorney. And is it correct also na binebenta ni Shi ang blockchain sa CESA at nakapagdaos pa ng Global Blockchain Summit noong 2018, which was attended, here photos would show, which was attended by Mr. Lambino?
Again, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, but we have nothing, we have not prepared any records showing a license of blockchain issued to Mr. Shezi Jiang. We will look into it and we will give a notice to your office should we find any, Madam Chair.
So at least you would be able, attorney, to confirm to my office kung natuloy yung pagbebenta ni siya ng blockchain sa
Yes, Madam
CESA.
Chair, we will look into it po.
But apparently the Global Blockchain Summit in 2018 with Shi Zhejiang present was attended also by Mr. Lambino. Right, attorney?
Based on the pictures, Madam Chair, I can see Secretary Lambino.
Yes. Thank you, attorney. And what can you comment about? I showed the slide of this earlier. What can you comment about corruption allegations involving Mr. Lambino? Have these been substantiated? And for the record, dear colleagues and attorney, we sought to invite Mr. Lambino, but he had another earlier appointment. He said, sayang at pagkakataon sana nila ito para masagot nila mismo yung mga alegasyong ito. But can you comment on these allegations and if they have been substantiated or not?
Madam Chair, we heard rumors when we came in, but there's nothing concrete at the moment that we have any evidence that would substantiate allegations of corruption on Administrator Lambino when it comes to visa.
Mhm.
But I heard he had some cases filed in the Office of the Ombudsman, but I am not privy of the details, Madam Chair.
All right, attorney. Sabi nyo, CESA has no evidence of corruption by the former administrator when it comes to visas. What about corruption when it comes to other things? And did CESA investigate all or any of these allegations?
Unfortunately, Madam Chair, the people handling the visas during his stint is no longer with CESA.
And what about
Yes.
other matters
Um,
under CESA? Any
There's one
corruption
case-
allegations there?
Yes, Madam Chair,
or
I think there's
evidence?
one case that was lodged in the Office of the Ombudsman involving a parcel of land.
Mm. On Fuga Island?
No, ma'am.
Where?
Within the town of Santa Ana.
Town of Santa Ana. All right. And any other evidence? All right. So that's one case ostensibly with evidence submitted on a non-visa issue, but the issue of land in Santa Ana. And did CESA itself investigate any at all of these allegations, attorney?
We are still doing that, Madam Chair. We are still looking into these allegations, and we will be like the matter regarding the land. The administrator will not hesitate to file necessary charges if so warranted.
And aside from the matter of the land, which other allegations is CESA looking into at present?
Generally, those matters indicated in the article, Madam Chair.
So visas, land, what else, attorney?
Receipt of
blockchain sale.
bribery
All
of
right.
I think 5 million.
I see. All right. Anything else, attorney, that CESA is looking into right now?
That's about it, Madam Chair.
That's it. All right. Now, CESA has repeatedly stated that it has no POGO and it will never have POGOs. So I just want to make sure that this isn't just a matter of semantics. Does CESA have offshore gambling operations? And if you do, if CESA does it intend to continue those offshore gambling operations, attorney?
Madam Chair, if I may be allowed, we have a official statement of our administrator regarding this matter.
How long is it, attorney?
Just 2 pages, Madam Chair.
Please proceed.
First of all, I seek the committee's indulgence as I cannot personally attend this committee meeting. I left the country last November 19, while the invitation from the committee was received by my office last November 21. I would like to thank the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, together with the committees on migrant workers and public order and dangerous drugs, for inviting Cagayan Economic Zone Authority as one of the resource speakers in today's public hearing. We would like to put on record CESA's full support and cooperation on the banning of POGO operations in our country, as stated under Executive Order Number 74. Being a member of the Technical Working Group on Anti-Illegal Offshore Gaming Operations, created pursuant to Executive Order Number 74, we vow to take active participation and cooperation with the mandate given by the President to the task force. CESA also takes cognizance of the memorandum from the Executive Secretary instructing us to remain consistent with RA 7922, CESA's charter, and adhere to the directive of the President in his State of the Nation address to ban POGOs in the Philippines. Consistent with our previous pronouncements, there are no POGOs within the jurisdiction of CESA. There never was and there never will be. CESA locators are not engaged in gambling. There are no bets coming in, nor are any bets being processed within the country. We have well-defined operational borders. CESA has its own data center and internet service provider, which effectively limits internet traffic to outbound, meaning all data and all content are streamed outside the country, and no inbound data and bets are received. Control over the data center and the internet service provider provides CESA with the unique ability to monitor inbound and outbound traffic, thus ensuring data integrity from source to destination of CESA stakeholders. IP blocking is also in place, which prevents users from the Philippines and other countries where online gambling is prohibited from accessing the websites. Geographically, our area of operations is also well secured. We only have one entry and exit point, thus allowing us to implement control measures over visitors, local or foreign, into the zone. In fact, for many months now, we have instituted a visitor screening system that allows us to say with a high degree of confidence that no individuals fleeing from anti-POGO operations elsewhere in the country will be allowed to enter our zone. CESA issues the working visas of expats intending to work within the zone. Hence, we can effectively limit the ratio of Filipino to foreign employees. At present, we are maintaining 80% Filipinos and only 20% or less foreign employees, which prevents the proliferation of foreign individuals inside the zone. CESA has also been cleared by AMLC as compliant to AMLA. This can be attributed to the strict monitoring and continuous efforts to educate our locators regarding AML rules and regulations. Finally, our CESA locators have never been involved in crimes associated with POGO operations like human trafficking and other allied crimes. A certification from PNP Santa Ana and PNP Region 2 is hereby submitted to the committee to affirm such assertion. And lastly, we are taking additional technological advancements such as dedicated Internet Protocol Exchange, eKYC platform, digital identification system that is fully integrated with the eKYC, and dynamic website seal, among others, to ensure that CESA's operation and its locators will remain to be POGO-free. Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Attorney. And almost sure you've submitted that statement in right. Please submit it in hard copy to the committee. And the chair notes the important references to the RA, the Republic Act itself, the Charter of CESA, and the executive order issued by the Office of the President and the Executive Secretary, the participation of the CESA administrator in the anti-illegal offshore operations, as well as the other details given in the letter to substantiate the position stated earlier about not having POGOs and never going to have pogos. But again, just to be very clear about the words we are using. So does CESA have offshore gambling operations?
None within the economic zone, Madam Chair,
None within the economic zone
and
but-
none within the country.
and within the country. But does CESA have offshore gambling operations outside the zone and outside the country?
There are like offshore gaming licensees which are operating outside the country.
Offshore gaming licensees operating outside the country. All right. And I think, and I will get to questions later, originally for DOJ and for the ES, the Office of the ES, about these important terminologies at yung pagsisigurado natin na walang malabo at walang loopholes dun mismo sa EO na inisyo nila. And so, and do you intend to continue, does CESA intend to continue with these offshore gaming licensees operating outside the country, Attorney?
Madam Chair, as stated po sa statement ng aming administrator, kami po ay susunod tatalima sa executive order po at saka sa memorandum po na in-issue ng Office of the Executive Secretary. Kung ang amin pong paniniwala, ang pinagbabawal po ay ang offshore gaming operations sa loob po ng bansa. So we believe that the conduct of interactive gaming licensees of CESA outside the country, offshore, is not subjected with the provisions of the executive order because their operations practically are outside the country po.
Kaya po, importante sa aming komite at sa aking opisina na i-engage yung office ng ES, Office of the President, para klaruhin pa yung EO at higpitan pa yung EO. Precisely because ang mga economic zone authority tulad ng CESA ay eto nga, legally naman ay sinasite itong EO at saka memorandum. So right now I may have a different understanding from the Office of the ES tungkol sa ano ang dapat iban, but dahil in aid of legislation ito at gusto din po ng komite na base po sa batas at base din sa mga executive issuances tulad ng EO at memorandum, kaya i-engage namin sila para klaruhin ito, para yung letter at yung spirit nung ban na inanunsyo ng State of the Nation address ay masunod po talaga. And just another question, right now, Attorney. Who is Ray Roquero?
I think he was formerly a special assistant of former Secretary Raul Lambino.
Alright. Hindi na rin konektado si Mr. Roquero sa CESA?
Wala na rin po.
Alright. Salamat, Attorney. And lastly for this morning, okay. So ito na nga yung pinag-usapan natin ngayon lang. I was going to ask you kung sa pagkaintindi ba ng CESA, covered kayo ng EO ng presidente na nagbaban sa POGO. So such that yung ban sa offshore gambling activities nag-apply din sa CESA. So binubukod nyo yung offshore gambling activities outside the country.
Madam Chair, kami po, covered po kami ng executive order na
Yes.
bawal po kami na mag-accept at mag-operate po ng offshore gaming sa loob po ng bansa. So wala pong ganon, i-maintain po namin yun at sisiguraduhin po ng CESA na wala pong POGO operations na magaganap po sa economic zone at sa bansa po.
Salamat, Attorney. I understand that. baka nga yun yung crux of the matter or isang crux of the matter na para sa pananaw ko po at ng komite, hindi ba covered din at bawal yung ganyang mga activities sa labas ng bansa. Basta dito nakabase yung negosyo. So that's still arguable now and we will pursue that with the Office of the Executive Secretaries. Before I go on to, I just need to make a an entry into the record, and then before I go to Mr. Yang, a quick question both to Nika at kay Admiral Ong. May special risks ba ng malign foreign influence o interference operations sa mga economic zones in general? Admiral Ong, would you like to take that first?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. The vectors of malign influence covers three. That's economic, political, and information. So in this case, the way it works is economic investments are leveraged for political influence. Yun po yung value nun.
Salamat, Admiral. Deputy Director General?
Madam Chair, the problem we see with what's happening now is that the economic investments, or even just the mere enticement of a huge investment, allows or rather disarms our government agencies who would otherwise be performing due diligence to not perform such due diligence. And we've seen this happen. I was alluding earlier, Madam Chair, to our ongoing effort to map out and detail the extent of such influence activities across our regions. And ang nakikita po namin, Madam Chair, and I will concur with the good Admiral, ang entry point po talaga economic. I will cite a particular example, Madam Chair, without mentioning the province, the region, and the company. Meron pong hindi nga po ito large investment. This would normally not fall under the purview of BOI or an economic zone. This will just go through the normal processing po ng businesses and licenses within a municipality. General merchandise po ang nature ng business. Nagtayo po ng building, pero makikita sa baba po general merchandise. Pero pag akyat nyo po sa taas, merong mga parang call center type of operation which was not in the purview noon pong sa pinaalam nila in their application sa munisipyo. So we relate that po to your earlier question, Madam Chair, with regard to export processing zones. They undergo a special lane. Normally po, they will not be under the regular scrutiny as accorded to other applicants po for businesses. So pag na-disarm na po yan, pag wala na po yung normal checks and balances and those safeguards natin, they will now be easy conduits for other types, preferably illegal activities, which may be or which should be the objective in the first place. And the economic enticement was just a cover or to add a veneer of legality to ultimately what is an illegal operation, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Director General. Yung binanggit na kahit yung mere enticement ng large investments na kalaunan ile-leverage para sa political influence. Yung mere enticement reminds me of yung naudlot na sa Fuga Island daw na $2 billion. So very enticing po talaga at mabuti na lamang ay hindi itinuloy. At yung sinabi nyo rin na kahit sa isang munisipyo, sa second floor ng isang di umanong general merchandising store, call center type operations, yun nakita natin in large scale sa earlier forms ng POGO hubs tulad sa Bamban at iba pa. Pero ngayon, ang ulat sa atin ay ng mga people on the ground ay dahil naghahabol na makatakas dun sa deadline December 31, nagko-convert back sa mga mas maliliit na operasyon, yung nagmumukhang household-based lamang pero Pogo pa rin ang ginagawa. So maraming salamat, Deputy Director General at Admiral. Now, before I go on to a question for, yes, just one question for Mr. Yang. I just need to make an entry into the record of this hearing. According to Mr. Wang Fugui earlier, there's a crucial mistranslation. He said that the Chinese government is causing his safety problems, not the Thai government as translated. So we enter this into the record for correction. All right. So now to Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang, and again, please assist the chair, Ms. Carolyn. Thank you. Mr. Yang, your file is also in the possession of Shi Zhijiang. Do you wish to explain that?
杨先生，你的文档也在沈之江他的文档里面，那你能不能解释这个？
我真的我也不认识他，我也不知道什么有我什么文档。
I don't know him and I don't know about this document.
Maybe I'll show the document to you again, Mr. Yang, so that you can remember it and maybe explain it. Are you working for a foreign government?
你是否为国外的政府工作呢
没有啊，
？No.
All right, Mr. Yang. And again, double thank you to Miss Carolyn for translating kasi may impormasyon ako, Mr. Yang, at may nakitang mga photo or video na kausap nyo, kaming mga Pilipino, kahit walang translator. So naiintindihan nyo kami. You don't need a translator actually. All right, I'll go on to PAOK, please. To Director Guidato. Oh, I'm sorry. Assistant Secretary Tolejano, Deputy Executive Officer. Yes, sir. Sir, nakapagsumpa na kayo in previous hearings, tama po? Yes, I remember. All right. So, Asek Tolejano. Sir, lumabas na po ba yung pangalan ni Shi Zhijiang sa mga investigasyon nyo sa Pogos?
So far, ma'am, we have already come up with the name of Sun Zhijiang in our investigation.
All right. Now, yung Yatay Spa, kilala po siyang associated kay Shi Zhijiang. Meron pong 2016 document na nag-indicate na yung Chonghua ay nag-ooperate sa Yatay Spa at na yung spa ay nag-ooperate ng casinos after officially opening in 2018. Ano naman po yung Nine Dynasty Group na tila business partner ng Yatay Spa? Ito po yung, ipa-flash po namin yung ad nila magkasama.
This is a big company, formerly associated with the other Pogo company that we have raided.
Formerly associated po, hindi na sila associated itong Nine Dynasty Group, hindi na sila associated sa Pogos?
Yes, ma'am. Accordingly, they're still active right now.
Still active with Pogo companies?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright po. So sa inyong pagkaunawa, ano yung nature ng business nitong Nine Dynasty Group?
Basically, ma'am, it's there more on gaming operations.
Gaming operations. At tama po ba na may connection itong Nine Dynasty Group sa Rivendell, yung Pogo sa Pasay na kayo at ang DOJ Iyakat ang nag-raid?
Ma'am, maybe we can allow Director Kidato is more.
All right, sir. And Director, you did take the oath earlier, sir, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So, Director Guidato, may connection nga ba itong Nine Dynasty Group at saka yung Rivendell?
Yes, Your Honor. They have the same incorporators actually.
Alright. And itong si Casmir Romero Eliazar, presidente ng Rivendell. So siya rin ay isa sa incorporator ng
Ye-
Nine Dynasty Group.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. So, as Pogos are winding down their operations, we've heard of guerrilla scam operations and even former Pogo workers forming their own Pogo companies and scam companies. Pwede po bang magbahagi ang PAOK ng insights kung gaano kalawak yung mga operasyong ito? Ano yung mga plano para siguruhin na yung mga scamming
Sa pagkaka-issue ng Executive Order number 74, yun po ang magiging IRR kung how we are going to do the operations against these POGOs. Hopefully, by the end of the year, matatapos na po natin yung mga coordinations at malalagyan na po natin yung mga standard operating procedures to stop to completely stop the operations of these offshore gamings.
ganong kalawak po yung operasyon ng mga guerrilla scam operations at mga scam companies na binubuo ng mga dating Pogo workers?
Ganito po yan, ma'am. If I may, yung malalaki po ng mga POGO companies that we have raided before or that were existing before, ang nakikita po namin sa kanila ngayon is nagbe-breakdown sila into smaller groups. Some are even branding themselves now as BPOs. So, iba-iba po ang style po nila, but most of them nagiging mga guerrilla groups na into 10s, 20s, where before they were operating in thousands. So, just like what we found in Parañaque when we raided the Parañaque group, nakita po namin doon sa isang subdivision na meron silang inokupa na 45 houses within the subdivision. Ganun po ang nangyayari po ngayon. They are breaking down to smaller groups.
Alright. Smaller groups pero maramihan pa rin. So maaring 10 to 40 workers pero sa 45 na bahay sa iisang subdivision.
Yes po, ganun po ang nakikita po namin. At some, like for example, yung isang recent trade namin, ang branding po nila sa kanilang kumpanya is BPO na po.
Yes.
Po.
Importante po yun kasi yung BPOs, tulad ng remittances ng ating mga OFWs, yung BPOs ang isa sa top revenue generators talaga para sa gobyerno at para sa ekonomiya.
Yes, ma'am. Napakaganda po talaga ng mga BPOs actually.
Yes, of
Kung
course.
straight BPOs, napakaganda po talaga.
Mm.
It's a revenue generating
Yes.
group. But of course, like for example, yung Pogo, dati maganda naman po yan kung talagang straight Pogo. Pero dahil nga po sa nahaluan ng napakaraming mga problema na lahat na po sila nagkadamay-damay na po, naging masama na po yung pangalan ng Pogo. Hopefully, wag po itong mangyari sa mga BPOs.
Anong context po lumalabas yung pangalan ni Xie Zhijiang? At ano yung connection niya sa Pogos?
Si Xie Zhijiang po ay nag-operate po before dito sa Pilipinas. At ang kanyang ginawa rin po dito is offshore gaming. But that was way beyond before yung pagkaka-create po ng administration ng isang oversight body katulad po ng PAGCOR. Wala pa po yung PAGCOR na doon control at that time over sa mga offshore gamings. So, siya po yung isa sa pinakamalaki before.
Si Xie.
Opo.
Si Xie Zhijiang, isa sa pinakamalaki. When you say isa sa pinakamalaki, bakit? Ilang Pogo licenses ang ina-account for ni Xie?
Ang so far lang po na lumutang sa aming mga investigasyon kasi matagal na po yun, way before yung sa PAGCOR pa po. Ang data lang po na nakita namin dun sa kanyang na-raid na kumpanya sa Pasay na na-explain nyo na po kanina.
Yun yung Rivendell. Or yung Nine Dynasty Group o yung Yatays pa.
Opo.
Alin po doon?
Meron pa po isa.
Alin po?
We will forward to you the name, ma'am,
Thank you.
later on.
So isa sa pinakamalaki yon. Pero lahat-lahat, alam na po ba ninyo sa inyong investigasyon kung saan lumabas yung pangalan ni Shi Zhejiang tungkol sa Pogos, kung ilan ang Pogos na kanya?
We are still looking at it, ma'am. Kung ilan po.
Alright. Isa-submit nyo naman po sa komite, ano po?
Yes, ma'am.
And ano po namang opinion nyo? Ano naman pong opinion nyo sa sinabi kanina ng CESA resource person na walang Pogos doon at itutuloy lang nila ang ginagawa na nila sa ngayon? So yung offshore gaming licensees operating outside the zone and outside the country, ano pong opinion nyo doon?
Yun po ang report nila, ma'am. So, hindi pa po namin natitignan po.
Pero circumvention po ba yon ng ban ng Pogos or yung EO or yung memo?
Actually, ma'am, after the issuance of the EO 74, nag-issue po si Executive Secretary Person ng isa pong memorandum to CESA to adhere to the provisions of the EO 74.
So, babalikan po talaga namin yung Office of the ES para klaruhin yung tingin namin ay malabo pa rin sa EO at punuin yung mga gaps na nakikita pa namin sa EO na yon. Huli sa ngayon para sa... sorry. So, ganong kalawak po? Yung nakita ninyo, halimbawa sa Parañaque, yung nakikita ninyo na nagbe-break up into smaller groups o nagpapanggap na BPOs, ito ba sa Metro Manila lang or sa iba pang bahagi ng Luzon o sa lahat ng regions tulad ng sinasabi ng NICA na area of concern nila, at least as far as Pogos related to espionage are concerned?
Dahil po sa active ang PAOK dito po sa area ng Luzon area, we found that most of the POGOs are now in several areas of Visayas and even in Mindanao, ma'am.
Okay.
Nandun na po sila ngayon.
So nationwide na talaga.
Opo.
And totoo, dahil bukod sa mga na-raid nyo dito at inimbestiga namin sa Luzon, merong Cebu, sa Visayas, merong Cagayan de Oro, sa Mindanao, at posibleng iba pa.
Madami po sila.
Marami. Okay. Alright. So huli po para sa PAOK ngayong umaga, Director, yes, ano pa po yung mga nakikita nyo mga patterns ng mga Pogo enterprises ngayong pasara na yung mga official na Pogo?
Inaalam pa po namin, ma'am, ngayon yung mga nangyayari. Nasa transition po tayo. October 15, nagsabi na po yung Bureau of Immigration na dapat ang mga POGO workers ay dapat maging i-downgrade ang kanilang mga visa into tourist visas. So therefore, dapat sila nag-aasikaso na lang ng kanilang mga pamamaalam sa kanilang mga loved ones dito sa Pilipinas, nagbebenta ng kanilang mga condos o nag-aayos ng kanilang mga sasakyan, yung kanilang mga utang. But so far, nakikita namin na yung iba naman lumilipat lang ng ibang mga lugar. Nakikita namin po na maraming flights papunta sa Visayas area.
Oh.
Na doon po namin na monitor yung ibang mga tao na dating nagtatrabaho sa Pogo. At nakikita rin po namin na yung iba naman, pinapalitan na yung kanilang mga pangalan sa Securities and Exchange Commission. Nagiging BPO na lang po. So hopefully, magkakaroon po kami ng meeting para po sa implementation ng EO 74. Doon po namin naayusin with other agencies on how we are going to do about the solving of these problems, ma'am.
Alright, salamat po para dyan, Director. So interesting, no? Look out or wake up call din ito or maybe just a cautionary note to SEC. Lalo na dun sa mga nagpapanggap na lang na BPO, nagpapalit lamang ng pangalan and yung nature of enterprise nila. Alright, salamat Director Kidato at kay ASEC Tolejano. O tamang-tama. Susunod na tanong ko para kina Attorney Pagirigan sa SEC. Hindi. Yes, sir. Attorney Jonathan Pagirigan. So aware po ba kayo dun sa mga huling binanggit ni Director Kidato na may mga POGOs nagpapalit na lang ng pangalan at nature of business sa SEC? Are you on the lookout for that already, Attorney?
Yes, yes, Madam. Yeah, yes, Madam Chair. We are,
Yes.
Your Honor. And actually, we are in coordination with Director Winnie on these POGOs, and we have been in exchange of data, Madam Chair.
And you have what, sir?
Exchange of data,
All right.
Madam Chair.
And will you be preventing those POGOs from magically transforming themselves into BPOs?
With the advent of the executive order issued by the President, Madam Chair, we are actually taking steps to assure that those who are actually engaging in POGOs would be informed and to comply with the executive order, Madam Chair.
And aside from informing them to comply with the EO, may proactive actions ba ang commission para mapigilan sila magkunwari na lang na BPO?
Yes, Madam Chair. If we find or discover that these corporations or those engaging in POGO still continue to engage in POGO, definitely the SEC will take the necessary action, Madam Chair.
Pero corrective action na lang ba yon kung mag-convert sila into BPO pero mag-POGO pa rin pagkatapos? Hindi ba kasama sa exchange of data nyo yung data tungkol sa mga kasalukuyang POGO, tapos gaya ng sinabi ni Director Kidato, tatakbo sa SEC para magrehistro ulit pero kunyari BPO na sila?
May I confer quickly with my colleague,
Yes,
Madam
please.
Chair?
Yes, please.
On the topic of POGO. So it's nothing new. I wonder why ngayon lang po siya nagiging issue. So yun lang po siguro in addition.
On the administrative side, we will take the remarks ng dating Pangulo as customer feedback. At siguro kailangan po nating dagdagan pa yung detention facilities natin o dagdagan po ng kwarto kasi nga alam niyo naman po na ratsyada po ang Quadcom, so marami pong nakagamit ng facilities natin. And of course, as customer feedback, we will improve our facilities as well.
Thank you. May another statement lang po ni Duterte following yung kill remark po ni VP Sara kay PBBM. Her dad, PRD said, kasuhan nyo na lang si Inday, hindi naman makulong yan. Hindi talaga magpapakulong yan. Kung ipapatay mo yan, uuwi yan ng Davao. I mean, it's pertaining to the DOJ.
This was with the press con last night, no?
Yes po.
Hindi ko pa kasi napanood. Pero opinion naman niya yun eh. So, but again, nakita naman po natin yung direksyon ng House, yung sagot ng House, sagot ng ating mahal na Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, they are treating this with all seriousness. Kaya kung ano man yung laro-laro na naman na play with words o kaya yung sinabi nilang kasuhan, then titignan po natin sa mga susunod na araw kasi hindi naman po, wala naman po sa kamay ng Kongreso yan. Ang ginagawa po ng Kongreso ngayon, hinahalungkat po natin yung katotohanan, hinahanap po natin yung katotohanan dito sa ating mga hearings sa good government, saka sa Quadcom. So, wala. Opinion nila yun eh. Yun ang tingin nila eh. Thank you.
Yes, I guess the DOJ through the NBI has started its investigation, and a subpoena will be issued, for the Vice President to answer and to face these criminal charges to be filed against her. So with that, due process will be observed in such a way that the Vice President will be given the opportunity to answer with regard to his threat, no, against the President, the First Lady, including the House Speaker. So this will undergo a regular process. Sorry, can we hear the quote again? Just to be sure po, no?
Kasuhan nyo na lang si Inday, hindi naman makulong yun. Hindi talaga magpapakulong yun. Kung ipapatay mo yan, uuwi ng Davao yan.
I'm guessing the context also is kasuhan na lang instead of having the hearing. Tama po ba?
I think it's pertaining to the kill threat po kay PBBM. So do you have any comments on that? Sa DOJ.
Instead, kasuhan na lang. I'm sorry. I guess the context is lost on us. We haven't heard the press con, but I think what's safe to say. Well, for one, we've had first-hand experience na po, having had the former president join us in a committee hearing. Baka po hyperbole po ito, so I'm not sure if we'd understand it right. But we stand by the rule of law, and we stand by the statement of the president and the speaker. The proper judicial the judicial process has been initiated already. The DOJ is already acting on the case. So I think whatever opinion he might have on whether the case will prosper is his own po, no? But we leave it to the DOJ to decide and to handle po.
Anything you would like to add na lang po on how the former president po is handling this? And, you know, another lawmaker has also mentioned about, yun nga po, kung si Noy Noy before, hindi po nakikialam or not saying anything about the Duterte administration during the drug war. Pero nga po si Duterte, seemingly, he's sowing discord po ngayon sa admin ni Marcos.
Excuse me, anong sabi ni former president kay Inday? Ano sabi?
Regarding po dun sa kill threat, kasuhan nyo na lang si Inday, hindi naman makulong yon, hindi talaga magpapakulong yon. Kung ipapatay mo yan, uuwi ng Davao yan.
Una sa lahat, hindi po nagpapapatay yung administrasyon natin ngayon. Ang nagpapapatay po, yung ibang administrasyon, pero hindi yung ngayon. Yung previous administration siguro. Pero yung administrasyon ngayon, we follow the rule of law, no? Talagang gusto natin na maayos, tahimik, at meron tayong sinusundan na batas at binibigyan natin ng hustisya, no? Lahat ng lahat ng mga sitwasyon na kung saan kailangan patas, no, ang pagtingin sa batas.
Last na lang siguro, based dun sa quote kanina, parang dina-downplay na parang ganito na lang gawin nyo, ganito ganyan. Parang nilalighten lang nila yung seriousness ng mga threat na ginawa. Pero alam naman natin kasing lumang tugtugin na yan. Alam na ng tao yan, sobrang lumang tugtugin na yung style na ganyan. Hindi na gumagana.
And just to add, no, just to be clear, wala hong threat or balak na ipapatay ang ating pong Vice Presidente. Kaya hindi ko din po maintindihan kung bakit nabanggit po yun ni PRRD. No, just to be clear lang on that aspect, ano.
Have you finished with your questions, Marian? Marian, are you done with your questions? Okay, let us recognize Gab Lalo from Inquirer Online.
Sir, kahapon dun sa hearing ng Good Government, yung mga special disbursing officers ng OVP at DepEd, si Gina Acosta sa si Edward Fajarda, inamin nila na iniwan nila yung confidential funds sa mga security officers, kay Colonel Nolasco at Colonel Lachica, upon the orders of the Vice President, di ba? May possible liability ba to, sir? Or may mga possible na kaso? Kasi we're not familiar kung anong kaso yung specific sa pag-iwan ng pera sa hindi naman disbursing officer.
Well, ako,
tingin ko may possible na kaso dahil in the first place sa kanila hinabilin yung pera eh. Tsaka sila yung banded officer. So pag may nangyari dun sa unang-una yung perang pinag-uusapan po natin dito, hindi naman po nila pare-parehas pera. Pera po to ng taong bayan. So the fact na ito'y pinagkatiwala nila sa isang tao at kung may nangyari po dito sa pera, silang mananagot, eh medyo kaya nga po sila nagbabayad ng bond. Ang ibig sabihin po yun ay in the event na may mangyari dun sa pera, sila po yung magre-reimburse. Now, ang tanong, ito pong pinag-uusapan natin ay hindi po ordinaryong pera. We are talking here of 612.5 million pesos. In the event na may mangyari po dyan, so kaya po ba nila i-reimburse itong 612.5 million pesos?
If dagdag ko lang makikita natin na meron pong malinaw na paglabag doon sa Joint Memorandum Circular -2015. Dahil kung titignan natin kung sino yung accountable officer doon, it refers to the Special Disbursement Officer, the SDO, who in the person of Gina Acosta and Edward Fajarda. So wala naman po doon na nakalagay sa guidelines ng GMC na kailangan mong ibigay doon sa security officer. Yes, we understand na kailangan po ng security to secure the money upon encashment. But yung iti-turn over mo, yung pera na kaka-encash lang, kakakuha lang sa bangko, it seems it's highly irregular in the sense na hindi nga yun ang accountable officer. So doon pa lang malinaw na meron pong paglabag. And namin naman po mismo ng ating pong mga SDOs na yun po ay utos ng ating Vice Presidente.
Maigli lang. They all know the irregularities na ginawa nila. Inamin naman po nila lahat yun. Ang problema, it was already too comfortable for them yung setup na gano'n, which is regular practice in their office. Kaya po, parang wala na lang. Kumbaga, hindi na sinusunod yung protocols nila. So, normal na nangyari. I wouldn't be surprised if hindi lang sa security binibigay yun. Baka kung sino-sino pa or driver na lang. So, I wouldn't be surprised na ano. But again, sabi ko nga, ang dami ng issues ng transparency sa accountability. So, it came from their mouth. So, alam nila yun, yung pagkakamaling ginawa nila.
In addition lang po siguro, we thought po with the appearance of the 4 OVP officials who have been constantly evading the hearing that we would have answers. Yet, again, after how many hearings na po tayo? 7? After 7 hearings, we're left with more questions now. Akala po namin, based on the previous hearings, 2 lang po ang nakakaalam sa kung paano ginamit confidential funds. The head of the agency and the SDO. So in this case, 3 people kasi 2 agencies. Ngunit, with their appearance po, nalaman po natin yung funds ay actually dinelegate pa ng SDO to a security officer who isn't even from that civilian agency. Our understanding is, itong 2 officers that were mentioned are both from the uniformed personnel po, which is separate from the OVP and separate from the DepEd. So doon pa lang po, I believe yung sa testimony ng witness na COA, hindi po yan in line with joint circular. What has been delegated cannot be delegated further. Trabaho po at responsibilidad yun ng SDO. Ngunit pinasa pa po sa security agent, security officer na cannot even account to us now. If you recall, yung bonded officer po dito, yung SDO dapat, siya yung responsible. Ngunit ngayon, they cannot even tell us the smallest details of what we're expecting from the accomplishment reports, liquidation reports. So I think yun yung big takeaway dito. On the question po kung anong liabilities po dito, it would really vary. If we recall, if this is public fund intended for public use, even if assuming po na yung pondo na dinaan para sa confidential funds ay ginamit for public use pa rin, let's say, for example, pero dahil hindi sumunod sa strict procedures, I believe this is technical malversation. But worse, if this was taken for personal gain, if this proven fictitious at erroneous yung ARs to justify the taking of this amount, that could be malversation proper or worse, plunder. Kasi lampas na po ito sa 50 million. So yun po yung nakikita natin dito.
Nakita natin na merong pagkukulang, lalong-lalo na yung ating mga disbursing officers. Nakita natin na nagkulang sila sa pag-iingat ng pera ng ating pamahalaan. At sa huli, it is a command responsibility. At talagang nakikita naman natin na lahat sila ay sumusunod lamang sa utos ng ating Vice Presidente. So sa huli, kung may makitang mga paglabag sa batas, kung may makitang kailangang may managot, kailangan akuhin ng ating Vice Presidente ang pananagutan dito sa pagkukulang.
Sir, yung ganitong issue na ang nag-disburse talaga si Colonel Nolasco and Colonel La Chica, mako-cure ba nito kung sakaling yung dalawang officials na lang ang ginawang SDO o bawal dahil military officials sila?
Well, for one po, nabanggit naman po ng COA na pwede naman po mag-assign ng other SDOs. It would have cured probably, but the problem is they're still not from that office. I don't think, halimbawa, the agency, yung pondo nakalagay sa OVP, dapat ang SDOs galing po sa OVP eh. So doon pa lang, even if they did make, I don't know if you could even make security personnel from a different agency an SDO. So I don't think it would have cured it po. Although technically, you could add SDOs and that would have been a cure. Pero dahil nasa ibang opisina po, not possible, I think.
Siguro po kung sa pondo, let's say, ng AFP, meron din po silang sariling SDO. But kagaya nga po ng sinasabi ni Congressman Rhodes, Office of the Vice President. Hindi po sila, in fact, hindi nga sila sumusweldo sa Office of the Vice President. Kaya meron din po talagang problema.
In addition lang po, aside from that, not only is that they're from the other office, they're from outside of the agency. Sila mismo, iba na po yung mandato ng opisina nila. So how could they be SDOs for a mandate to be executed for the civilian agency?
Sir, part ba ito nung mga kino-consider ng committee as a possible legislation? Kasi ang pinagbabasihan natin ngayon yung joint memorandum circular lang eh. Wala pang formal na batas for guidelines on CFN.
Ako tingin ko wala naman pong problema eh. Talaga naman dapat SDO ka kung saang ahensya ka nagtatrabaho. Nagkataon lang dito, gano'n naman talaga. Yung binigyan nila ng ginawa nilang SDO, talaga naman pong nagtatrabaho. Just so happen, binigay po nila sa iba. Kaya nga po, isa po sa mga possible na legislation na aming iniisip, dapat nga po talaga yung mga wala naman pong kinalaman sa intelligence gathering ng mga ahensya at departamento, dapat po talaga, we have to limit yung bibigyan natin ng mga confi fund.
In addition to that lang po, siguro nakita natin, back then siguro sufficient pa yung joint memo circular, joint memorandum circular. Para nakita natin na it's being twisted yung definitions. Halimbawa, si Mr. Fajarda was insisting na yung pagbigay niya ng pera to the security officer is disbursement, which I think the COA says is not their interpretation at hindi rin. Pero to be fair, I don't think it says in this joint circular kung ano ba talaga yung disbursement. So in a sense, I think one of the suggestions by the committee, siguro the committee report, is to strengthen the joint memorandum circular. But on our part, I think we might push for legislation on top of that po, to really set the bounds and limitations ng mga SDOs natin and siguro stronger penalties for that responsibility.
Sir, last question na lang. Kasi kahapon may statement yung mga House leaders saying na yung statements ni Vice President Duterte was a clear danger and threat to the country's democracy. Do you agree with this? Tingin nyo may ganong gravity yung mga statements na binitawan ni Vice President?
100%.
Definitely, because ang threat po sa ating Pangulo. Ang ating pong Pangulo ang nagre-represent po ng ating bansa. So, siguro sa ibang bansa nga po, baka hindi po, they will not take it lightly. So, definitely, there is a clear and present danger.
I would agree po, there's a clear threat. There's a clear danger because there's a clear threat. We've gotten so used po, to the statements being watered down by biro lang or hyperbole. Pero in this case, sabi nga po, no joke. So there is a clear threat on a person who isn't even private, but the head of our country. So this is a threat, direct threat on our democratic institutions. So there is a clear, very clear danger po.
Ang ginawa no ng ating Vice President ay malinaw na nagdudulot ng gulo at saka pagkawatak-watak, no? Kapag hinayaan natin ang ganitong klaseng pananakot, nagiging banta ito hindi lang sa demokrasya natin, kundi sa katatagan ng ating bansa.
Thank you, Gob. Meralis Moras from PTV4, you're recognized.
Hi, good morning po. Sir, unahin ko lang po yung about health concerns. Kasi kahapon, yun nga, si Gina Acosta habang tinatanong niya sa hearing kahapon ay bigla na lamang sumama yung pakiramdam at isinugod sa ospital. At alam naman natin si Attorney Zulaika Lopez ay nasa ospital na rin. Una po, Kongs, ano po yung official medical update na kina Gina Acosta at Zulaika Lopez? Kumusta po sila at hanggang kailan kaya sila sa Veterans Hospital? May update po ba sa atin? At ano lang din po, isunod ko na rin po, ano pong masasabi nyo dito sa mga tauhan, mga opisyal ng OVP na biglang nagkakaroon ng problema sa kalusugan sa gitna ng pagdinig?
Doon po kay Attorney Zulaika Lopez, kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, ang kanyang diagnosis is acute stress. Ano yan? Ano yan? Disorder. So, parang binibigyan siya ng ilang araw para makapagpahinga. Until such time siguro. Anyway, yung contempt naman ay in-extend po namin until Saturday, or that is 5 days, no? So insofar naman as si Ma'am Gina Acosta, wala pa kaming report, pero nung nandoon nga po sa committee hearing, pinatawag po natin ang ating in-house medical doctor, at nung binipi po siya, parang nag-shoot up yung yung blood pressure ng 150/100. Kaya po minabuti na dalhin siya sa malapit na ospital, which is dito nga po sa Veterans.
Pero ano pong masasabi natin dito nga sa mga ganito nga nangyayari sa specifically sa good government hearing na may mga resource person na nagkakaroon ng can we say na biglaan ba itong mga health concerns po na ito?
Magpagaling po sila. We wish them well para po makabalik na sila at masagot na nila yung mga tanong na importante po sa committee. Wala naman po sigurong ibang rason na kung bakit sila may nararamdaman, kung hindi siguro nahihirapan silang sumagot. Baka nahihirapan nilang sabihin yung mga gusto nilang sabihin. At saka yun siguro nagkakos ng stress. But I'm not a medical practitioner, so pagaling po sila para makabalik na po sila at masagot na po yung mga kailangan sagutin sa komite.
Sir, sorry, sundin ko lang yung statement ni Kong Ortega. So parang somehow, sir, you're saying po na if they will just tell the truth, hindi naman kailangang umabot pa sa stress, sa ganun po ba yung ibig natin?
Hindi naman po. Magpagaling muna sila para sa susunod po na hearing, mas marami na po sila na masabing impormasyon kasi nga po, resource person natin sila. At sabi nga nila, minsan, pag nagsasabi ka ng katotohanan, the truth will set you free. Nakakagaang po ng pakiramdam ang pagsasabi ng katotohanan. Naalala niyo po nung nag-affidavit po si Ginang Royina Garma, ibang-iba po yung pagsasalita niya pagkatapos niyang sabihin yung totoo, mas relax, mas diretso siya sumagot. Makikita mo po talaga yung diferensya.
Tama yun, para mas mabilis nating matapos itong committee hearings. In fact, sabi ho ng aming chairman, siguro may isa o dalawa pa pong mga committee hearings. Pero kung hindi po makakadalo, because of medical reasons, baka mas lalong tumagal po itong hearing. Kaya tama po yung sinabi mo, Mela, na mas dapat sagutin na nila ng buong katotohanan para hindi na ho tayo tumagal dito po sa magiging committee hearings natin. And hindi na rin sila mahirapan na pabalik-balik pa dito sa mga pagdalo sa mga committee hearings.
In addition to that, kung mapapansin po ninyo nung tinatanong si Ma'am Gina Acosta ni Congresswoman Jinky Luistro, parang nahihirapan po siyang sumagot eh. In fact, there were 2 instances yata na halos maluha-luha po siya. So, it's either hindi po niya alam yung talagang kanyang responsibilidad as SDO at doon lamang niya nare-realize na may mali sa kanyang nagawa, or meron po siyang pinagtatakpan na katotohanan na hindi po niya masabi-sabi. Kasi kung makikita po ninyo siya noon, ang sinasabi niya ay basta't binigay lang niya yung pera at hindi na po niya alam kung ano po ang nangyari. Pero kung titingnan po natin yung history ni Miss Gina Acosta, since the time na nasa Davao pa po sila or sa LGU, siya na po ang SDO. So parang hindi naman po yata kapani-paniwala na yung 100 milyon, mahigit 100 milyon ay ibibigay mo na lamang, ikaw yung banded official at alam mo na meron kang responsibilidad, biglang hindi mo na alam.
Na nakakatanggal ng sakit yung pagsasabi ng totoo.
Okay, and mag-shift lang po ako. Another question lang po about dun sa naging press con ni former President Duterte kahapon. May sinabi po kasi siya na there is a fracture in government and there is a fractured governance sa Pilipinas ngayon. Nobody can correct Marcos, nobody can correct Romualdez. There is no urgent remedy. It is only the military who can correct it. At sinabi pa niya, hanggang kailan kayo magsuporta ng drug addict na presidente? Ano pong masasabi nyo rito? Hindi para sa inyo hindi po ba ito parang in a way parang nag-encourage na ng withdrawal of military support? Ano pong reaksyon nyo dito sa particular statement ni former President Duterte?
This isn't the first time po, no, na we've had this statement. And I recall if yung nangyari po ito last time, parang inciting to sedition po, no, yung what was tagged to it. Pero at this point, puro hyperbole. I'm not sure if it should even be dignified with a serious consideration po, no. That's just my personal opinion.
This is another diversionary tactics, no? Para pagtakpan ang totoong issue na kinakaharap ng ating Vice Presidente. Tingin natin sa sobrang bigat, no, ng mga issue ngayon ng ating Vice President, kailangan niya ng tulong ng kanyang ama, no? Para tulungan yung anak na pagtakpan kung ano man yung kinaharap ng ating Vice President. Isa lang ang masasabi natin, no? I-explain lang niya kung paano ginamit ang confidential fund. Yun na yun, no? Hindi na natin kailangan ng mga salita, no, na hindi nakakatulong sa ating bayan at lalong nakakapagbigay, no, ng dibisyon sa ating mamamayan.
Sorry, in addition lang po to my statement, no, why I'm able to say po that we shouldn't take it seriously anymore kasi baka hyperbole, because I also have full trust and confidence in our armed forces that they will stay true to their oath to protect and uphold the Constitution. Yung order na yun, yung suggestion na yun is very much against the Constitution, so I don't think even the AFP will take that seriously po.
I totally agree with Congressman Jay, no, na isa na naman itong paglilihis sa mga issue na ipinupukol sa kanyang pong anak na si Vice Presidente. At doon sa kanyang parang panawagan, no, na mag-withdraw ng support ang mga militar, para sa akin hindi po akma sa isang naging chief executive, no? Naging isang presidente na may taong mananawagan na hikayatin na mag-withdraw ng kanilang suporta sa kanila pong commander-in-chief. Alam po niyan, no, ni PRRD bilang isang naging commander-in-chief na isa sa mga ayaw mong mangyari ay kumalas ng suporta ang ating mga militar. So, I guess that is inappropriate statement, no, ng isang naging dating presidente at naging commander-in-chief ng ating bansa. Dahil kung ganyan, again, we are not calling for a peace and unity in our country. Mas lalo mo pang hinihikayat na magkaroon ng gulo, away sa ating hong bansa.
Parang 3 beses na yata nilang na statement yan or sinubukan na ginawa. Kaya nga sinasabi ko, talagang lumang tugtugin na yan. Wala nang naniniwala, wala nang sasama dyan. Kasi ang taong bayan, mas maraming problema na kailangan ayusin, which is yun ang ginagawa natin ngayon. Wag na silang dumagdag sa problema ng bansa. Dinidivide pa nila tong bansa natin. Wala. Lumang tugtugin na yan, wala na nakikinig.
Sorry, connected pa rin po. Nabanggit nyo rin po yung kay Vice President Duterte. Follow-up na lang po sa mga statement kanina kasi ngayon, mainit sa mga public discussion yung naging death threat nga ni Vice President Duterte laban kay na Pangulong Marcos at Speaker Romualdez. And yung iba, may mga nananawagan para maimbestigahan ito. Para sa inyo, is it best po na maimbestigahan? At saan po kaya particularly nakikita yung best na maimbestigahan yung mga ganitong pahayag nga, yung mga naging pahayag ni Vice President Duterte?
Tingin ko yung NBI po, yung national government ay gumalaw na. In fact, nag-issue na ng subpoena ang NBI para po makuha ang panig ng ating Vice Presidente. So makikita naman po natin yung mga on the national level po, yung mga national agency na concerning, natutugon po dito sa isyong to, ay nandiyan na po at gumagalaw na po.
In addition, no, nakita naman natin yung professionalism, no, ng Armed Forces of the Philippines at talagang nakikita rin natin, no, na gusto rin malaman ng Armed Forces kung ano yung katotohanan, lalong-lalo na sa confidential fund. At sa ngayon nga, dininay, no, ng ating Armed Forces na nakatanggap sila ng confidential fund, no, sa Office of the Vice President.
Thank you, Mela. May I call on Bibi Angulia from ABS-CBN2. You may proceed with your question, ma'am.
Good morning po. Follow-up lang dun sa question ni Mela on the medical update sa medical status nitong mga dinala po sa VMMC. Kong Chua, baka lang po meron ng report sa inyo. For example, today, kamusta na po sila? At saka makaka-attend pa po ba sila nung mga succeeding hearings ng committee? For example, on Friday, magre-resume yung inquiry. A-attend po ba ito?
Si Attorney Zulaika Lopez, kahapon po, in-attach po dun sa kanyang excuse letter, yung medical update po niya. Kaya nga po, in-extend na lang po namin yung kanyang contempt for another 5 days. So para at least nandoon naman siya sa veterans, makapagpahinga siya, ma-examine siya thoroughly. Insofar as si Miss Gina Acosta, dahil kahapon pa lang po nangyari, wala pa po tayong nakukuhang report galing po sa kanyang sa kanila pong panig. Hopefully by Friday makarating po siya dahil yung in-issue po namin hindi po namin nilift yung kanilang contempt and arrest order. Ito po ay forlo lang. Ibig sabihin temporary lamang pong pinayagan sila until Friday na hindi po sila madampot at ma-subject sa arrest.
So sa Friday po, si Lopez makaka-attend na. And ito pong condition ni Acosta is not life-threatening naman?
Hopefully po makarating dahil nakita naman po ninyo kahapon. We've been very fair naman po sa mga resource person natin. In fact, nabigyan pa sila ng forlo sa kanilang contempt and arrest order. So, kung magiging cooperative lamang po sila, sa tingin ko wala naman po talaga magiging problema sa committee.
On the sa mga kongs po, no, yesterday sa mga speeches po doon sa plenary, there was doon sa binitawang mga pahayag ni Vice President Duterte, sinasabi gross abuse of power, betrayal of the office she holds. We must act now. The House must take immediate action. Some people are viewing this as parang laying the ground for impeachment. Ano po ang masasabi ninyo dito?
Normal po siguro na reaksyon ng House members yon under the leadership of Speaker Martin. Siyempre po, kami po yung direktang binibira din nila sa House of Representatives. So, kaya kami nandito dahil pinagtatanggol po namin tong bahay namin, tong House of Representatives. So, yung mga salita, yung mga nilabas na speech ni Speaker, siyempre nakaka-boost din po ng moral namin yon. Kasi ang nangyayari po after our hearings, bibirahin po kami niyan ng yung mga keyboard yung mga trolls nila. Pero nakaka-boost po ng moral kasi pinakita lang po na the House must take action and the House is taking action right now. At ang number one na ginagawa po namin, yung is in aid of legislation, which is yan po ang bread and butter ng House of Representatives aside po sa paggawa ng batas. So lahat po ng ginagawa namin at gagawin, matagal na po namin inumpisan. Wala pa pong Quadcom, nag-umpisa na po sa mga hearings para mailabas po yung mga katiwalian na yan. Kung ano man yung dapat na gawin syempre yung sa executive side, hindi naman namin control yun eh. Ang nagagawa po namin is yung trabaho namin, which is yun yung ginagawa namin. Yun po ibig sabihin nung pag-take po ng action. And what we are doing now is already taking action and it is a call to action.
For me, I share and join the sentiments expressed by our colleagues yesterday in the plenary session. Bilang isang miyembro po ng House of Representatives, hindi naman natin gugustuhin na yung ating leader through the House Speaker ay pagbabantaan po ang kanyang buhay. Remember, yung official po na nagpahayag ng actual death threats is the second highest public official of the land. And the threat was directed to the President, the First Lady, as well as the House Speaker. So, alangan naman hindi kami mag-react doon sa naging pahayag, no? Pagbabanta na po yun sa buhay. And yung mga ganun po, wala hong puwang yun sa ating pamahalaan. Remember, we are public officials. Paano tayo titiwalaan ng tao kung tayo mismo walang pakundangan na magbibigay ng mga death threats? Remember, Vice President po siya and isa po siyang abogada. Alam niya po yung mga consequences when we utter the speeches and the statements. Dapat naman yung akma sa ating pong posisyon. So again, this is to share the sentiments of the House leaders who expressed their support to this administration, to our House Speaker, dahil hindi na po ito biro. Isa na po itong malaking banta sa ating demokrasya, sa ating pong kapayapaan.
In addition, in addition lang, nakita naman natin, ang kung gaano kasipag magtrabaho ang ating speaker. Nakita naman natin kung gaano kasipag magtrabaho ang Kongreso ngayon. Meron tayong Quadcom na nagtatrabaho kahit na break. Ngayon, sinimulan na yung Quintacom, At dire-diretso yung ating mga committee hearing sa pagbabalangkas ng batas. Pagdating naman ng weekend, nakikita naman natin, umiikot ang mga representante natin, sumasali sa BPSF, at nagbibigay ng suporta, tulong sa ating mamamayan. At kaya nga, pag natatawa nga kami, pag sinasabi na ang pasok namin mula Monday to Wednesday or Thursday, no? Pero ang hindi nakikita, kaming mga representante, umuwi rin kami sa aming mga distrito. At doon namin tinatanong, nagpapakita kami ng suporta sa aming mga kadistrito, nagbibigay kami ng tulong sa ating mga mamamayan, no? So, dito nakikita yung liderato ng ating napakasipag, no? At pinakamagaling, no, na speaker na si Speaker Martin Romualdez. So, nakakalungkot na merong mga ganitong klaseng pagbabanta, nakakalungkot na meron ganitong klaseng pag-threat sa buhay ng ating presidente, sa buhay ng ating first lady, sa buhay ng ating speaker. So, natural lamang na ang Kongreso ay magsasama-sama upang ikondena yung ganitong klaseng mga gawain.
Sorry, just to clarify my question, Kong, given the statements po na ni VP, kino-contemplate na po ba yung impeachment complaint dito sa lower house?
Sa ngayon, wala pa naman po kaming napag-uusapan tungkol dyan. Basta kami po, tinutuloy pa lamang po namin itong trabaho. Kung ano po yung aming ma-unravel dito po sa committee hearing na to. At the end of the day, ito po ay pag-uusapan ng lahat ng mga miyembro ng committee. Hindi po ito magiging desisyon ng isa. Ito po ay, at the end of the day, collegial body po ang magde-decide kung ano po ang magiging laman or konteksto ng aming committee report.
And to add lang, ang goal po namin talaga dito sa Committee on Good Government sa Quad, syempre ang goal namin, matapos na yung hearing sa investigation para yung mga policy recommendations, yung mga bagong batas, saka yung mga amendments at yung mga possible po na findings natin, mai-submit po sa mga kaukulang ahensya. Yun po ang number 1 talaga na priority ng committees, mga nasabi. Salamat.
Kung tatanungin niyo ako, no, kung ang mga binitawang salita ba ng ating Vice Presidente, tingin ko, no, impeachable offense ba ito? Tingin ko, personal na opinion ko to, oo. Pero kung tatanungin niyo rin ako, kung napag-uusapan ba ito sa Kongreso, hindi pa namin ito napag-uusapan, no? Dahil nga abalang-abala din kami lahat, no, sa pag-attend ng meeting, no? At marami din kaming mga batas, no, na mga ordinansa, mga panukalang batas na kailangang ayusin. Lalong-lalo na naghahabol din kami dahil malapit na nga yung break, no? At siyempre, umuwi din yung ibang mga congressmen, no, sa kanilang mga distrito para tumulong at tignan kung ano yung mga pangangailangan, no, ng ating mamamayan.
Sa mga members naman po ng Lakas, kasi po kahapon, nakita po dun sa, after ng speech ni Speaker, parang sa photo op, nakita po si Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo with the other majority House leaders po. What do you make of that po? And yes, in the past po, parang tuwing may andito, dumarating po si Congressman Arroyo kapag nandyan si Vice President. But yesterday, during the hearing ng House Committee on Good Government, hindi po natin siya nakita.
Sino ba lakas dito? Ako ba lakas ako? Ikaw na. Siyempre, maganda po yun na magkakasama kami po lahat sa aming may group photo po kami. Pero mas maganda po rin na tanungin po natin ang dating Pangulo kasi mahirap naman po mag-interpret ng mga actions niya. Pero ako, wini-welcome ko yun. Natutuwa ako at nandun siya. Kaya nga nandun po ako sa likod. Sabi ko, maganda yung moment nila kaya hindi na ako pumicture sa harap. Sila na lang muna.
Mahirap, in addition sa sinabi ni Kong Paulo, no, napakahirap hulaan, no, ang puso at isipan ng ating dating Pangulo, ni former President PGMA. Pero isa lang ang masisiguro natin na naririnig ko din, no, na sinusuportahan ni former President GMA ang ating speaker at silang dalawa talagang magkaibigan at may mabuti at magandang relasyon si PGMA at si Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Bilang bagong miyembro po ng Lakas, malaking bagay po yan dahil si PGMA naman po ay isa sa mga haligi ng Lakas. At talagang maganda po na makita po yung mga haligi ng Lakas na nagkakaisa at nagsasama, lalong-lalo na po sa mga ganitong klaseng panahon kung saan may threat po ang ating institusyon, ang Kongreso, at may threat po ang ating bansa.
Last.
Ang lakas ng dating.
Last na lang po from my end, Kong Jill Bungalon. Update lang po, yesterday may hearing yung Ethics Committee. May action na po ba dun sa reklamo po ni na Kong Angelica, Natasha Co, and Stella Kimbo?
Yes, yesterday we had the committee meeting with the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. So we had an initial hearing of the complaint filed by Congresswoman Stella Kimbo as well as Congresswoman Angelica Natasha Co against Congressman Wilbert Lee of Agri-Party List. So yesterday, all the parties attended and with their respective counsels who assisted their respective clients. So nangyari kahapon ay nagkaroon ng mga pagtatanong yung ating pong ilan sa mga miyembro ng komite at magpe-presenta din po sila, no, ng kanila pong mga documentary evidence as well as list of the witnesses na mag-a-appear po sa amin pong sunod na pagdidinig ng komite. So, yun po yung nangyari kahapon. Hindi naman po masyadong tumagal. At kumbaga yung proper hearing or hearing proper will start by next committee meeting na kung saan they will be submitting the respective documentary evidence as well as they will present also the respective witnesses with regard to the incident na nirereklamo nga po ng aming pong kasamahan. They are charging Congressman Wilbert Lee for improper conduct, especially or particularly may kinalaman doon sa budget deliberations sa plenary ng budget ng Department of Health.
Thank you, Bibian. We will now give the floor to Jonathan Andal from GMA7 to ask his questions.
Good morning po. To Congressman Chua. Sir, hanggang Sabado pa yung contempt order ni Attorney Lopez. Hindi na po ba ipapalipat ng komite si Attorney Lopez sa correctional? Hanggang kailan po siya sa veterans? Ibabalik pa po ba siya rito sa House Detention Center?
Sa ngayon, call po kasi yan ng Sergeant at Arms dahil depende nga kasi sa medical condition ni Attorney Lopez. Kaya mahirap naman po na ipilit natin na ilipat siya sa ibang prison facility na wala naman pong o hindi naman po equipped para tignan yung kanyang medical condition.
So, can you assure po na kasi yung kinakatakot niya na baka malipat sa correctional, may bibigay po ba kayo ng assurance na no, hindi ka na namin ililipat sa correctional?
Sa ngayon, wala naman pong pinag-uusapan na mailipat siya agad.
Thank you, sir. Kay Congressman Kong Hoon, kahapon sabi ni Gina Acosta, may mga piatos sa Davao. May lumutang na po bang Mary Grace piatos? May mga surrender feelers na po ba? May magkiklaim po ba ng 1 million peso reward?
Well, kung meron niyang Mary Grace piatos, no? Sana lumapit na siya at kinuha niya na yung 1 million, no? Ng alok ng mga kasamahan ko sa komite, no? Pero hanggang ngayon, wala pang lumilitaw, wala pang lumalabas na tao na nagngangalang Mary Grace Piatos at patuloy kaming nananawagan kung meron talagang Mary Grace Piatos na pangalan, mas mabuti na humarap na siya para makuha niya yung kanyang pabuya. Pero habang tumatagal, ang araw, lalo natin nakikita na ang katauhan ni Mary Grace Piatos katang-isip lamang. No?
Pero ipapacheck niyo po ba sa Davao yung mga Piatos doon kung meron nga?
Well, nagkaroon na ng kautusan ng committee sa pangunguna ni Chairman Joel Chua na pinapacheck na sa PSA kung talagang may katauhan nga na Mary Grace Piatos, no? At saka alam ko hiniling na rin yung tulong ng NBI din kung talagang ito ba totoong tao. Wala pang feedback sa PSA at saka sa NBI So malalaman natin ito sa mga susunod na hearing. Pero 'di ba? Logic dictates, no? Kung talagang kung totoo nga ang katauhan ni Mary Grace Piatos, sa dami ng humahanap sa kanya, dapat lumabas na siya at nagpakita na at kinuha na yung kanyang pabuya na 1 million.
Thank you, sir. Kay Kong Rog, sabi niyo kanina yung statement ni former President Duterte tungkol sa mga military violations sa Constitution. Ano po yun? Sedition?
If I recall correctly, during the first time that this happened, the usual crimes that were tagged to it was sedition po, inciting to sedition, because they're calling on the AFP to, take up arms against the government. Pero that's hindi po, it's a violation of their oath to the Constitution, pero criminal po siya under the RPC.
Okay. Kay Congressman Chua, sir, last na. Sorry, nung lumapit sa inyo si VP Sara kahapon, in-approach kayo, ano po yung napag-usapan? Ano yung mga sinabi niya? Parang may narinig kaming, wag mo akong i-please. Ano po yung mga nasabi?
Ini-insist po niya na yung rules of court daw i-apply doon sa proceedings. Sinabi po natin na hindi po, yung committee hearing po is not a court of law. So, yung rules of court, suppletory lang, pero may mga instances po na hindi naman po talaga ito ina-apply dahil sa internal rules po namin ay hindi naman po ito mandatory.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Let's turn to...
Sorry.
Is that related to...
Kay Piatos.
Okay, we will give Marian the floor.
Chair Chua, si Colonel La Chica po was mentioned several times by security officer. Andun po siya sa nandun po siya sa taas during the hearing, pero hindi niyo na po siya pinopaway.
Pinaupo po siya sa harapan, but unfortunately, nagkaroon po tayo ng emergency, si Gina Acosta, si Colonel La Chica, kaya po nando doon because nung kahapon po, personal, part po siya ng security group ni VP Sara. So nung tinakbo po sa ospital, yung si Gina Acosta at sinamahan po ni VP Sara, so yun po yung magiging consequence po nun. Masasama po dun yung security ni VP Sara. Pero siya po ay invite in the next scheduled hearing.
Okay, let's turn to Sandro Chona from Billionaire TV for his questions.
Sir, last week merong helicopter theory. Do you think it stops sa SO? Or probably meron pang nasa ibaba nun, kaya mabilis yung disbursement, yung 26 disbursements in a day ni Fajarda?
I'm sorry, can we have it repeated, boss?
Last week po may helicopter theory na even if you give si Fajarda ng helicopter, hindi niya magagawa yung 26 disbursements in a day. Do you think it stops sa SO o probably meron pang mas maraming tao sa ibaba ng SO to do such a disbursement na mabilis?
SO as in yung security officer.
Yes.
At the way that it's going, yung sagot po na nila na give it to the SO, I think that throws the whole theory out. Kasi ngayon, alam na po natin kung paano nila na-disburse 26 different locations in one day. It's because they delegated it. So I wouldn't be surprised if the SDO has already delegated to the security officer, then probably the security officer delegated also further down to his subordinates. And yun na po mismo yung nag-deal. So that would explain how nagawa yung ARs na yun, but it still doesn't cure po yung defect na hindi po dapat yun na-delegate.
Alright. Sige, iwan na po natin kasi baka may makita nila yung susunod nating questions. On the budget BICAM naman, malapit na mag-budget BICAM. Yung outburst po ba ni VP Sara enough yun na reason na para wag na talaga ibalik yung tinapyas? Kasi may ilang senators na nagsasabi na they are pushing for na ibalik yung mga natapyas na budgets for the Vice President.
We respect that opinion of the senators, no? Kung sa tingin nila gusto nila ibalik. But then again, ito pong mga pagdinig natin dito sa Kongreso, ay nakikita parang merong ngawang disconnect sa mga officials ng OVP. And precisely, the reason why mas lalo nga dapat na ibigay na lang natin doon sa mga major agencies yung pong implementasyon ng iba-ibang mga programa. And to be clear, hindi naman natin talaga binawasan. Kumbaga, nilipat lamang ho natin doon sa mga ahensya na meron talagang primary mandate, no, to implement these programs. So, with regard to this budget, well, of course, the final outcome will be subject to the deliberations during the BICAM. And if I'm not mistaken, baka next week ho, magkakaroon ho ng schedule for the members or the delegation of the Senate as well as the House of Representatives to meet in a bicameral conference committee.
Thank you. Jelly Mendez from DWIC, you're recognized.
Sir, yung sa pagbibigay po ng furlough sa 4 na opisyal, possible din po na ibigay din to kay Attorney Zulaika?
Well, depende yan sa mangyayari sa Friday at kung a-attend po siya ng committee hearing.
Pero kumpiyansa po tayo na hindi to magagamit para lumabas sila ng bansa.
Hindi naman po siguro. Ito naman ay nag-commit naman po sila nung binigyan po namin sila. We have to remember na under oath din po sila noon.
Kagabi po, sinabi po ni Antipolo Representative Romeo Acop na isuspend yung hearing, yung bago po matapos hanggang Friday po. Tuloy pa rin po ba yung susunod na hearing sa Friday or hindi na?
Sa Friday po, yung next scheduled hearing.
Okay, last question, sir. From Ed Galvez of FEBC Radio.
Sir, balikan na natin yung hearing kahapon sa sa Good Government. Ang sabi, umamin si Edward Pajarda na meron ngang cash and allowance distribution sa mga DepEd officials, national, regional. Pero ang justification niya, nag-aabono yung mga officials na to. Your thoughts on this, sir?
That is not enough justification dahil ang budget po na ina-allocate, may specific purpose po yan. So dapat kung ano po yung purpose, kung saan po ito inappropriate o in-allocate, dapat doon nyo po gagamitin. Pag yung budget ay ginamit nyo po sa iba, no matter how lawful it is, that is technical malversation.
Dagdag ko lang din, kasi if we follow the argument and the reasoning of Edward Fajarda na sinasabi nag-aabono daw yung mga DepEd officials, alam ko sa budgeting process and accounting rules, meron pong process of reimbursement. Hindi po yun yung gaya dito na namimigay lang sila ng sobre, may laman ng pera, at sinasabi nila na allowance dahil nag-aabono po yung mga opisyalis. I guess that is not regular. No, that is not the usual process. If we follow the argument na kung nag-aabono naman talaga sila, meron naman pong reimbursement process sa ating accounting rules. So dapat yun po yung nangyayari. So kumbaga, mas nagiging nakakapagtaka na talaga magdududa ka. Bakit mo kailangan pang gawin yon? Kasi kung nag-abono naman talaga yung isang opisyal, then they can ask for a reimbursement at may proseso po para dyan. So, it's highly irregular, no? Yung naging statement nga ni Edward Fajarda na mas lalo natin na pagdududahan yung kanya pong sinabi.
Thank you.
Sir, ihabol ko lang po yun sa hypothetical question po ni Congressman Marcoleta. Bakit po hindi nakakapagsalita or bakit hindi po inalaw na magsalita si Vice President Sara Duterte?
Saan?
Yung regarding po sa hypothetical question na sinasabi po ni Congressman Marcoleta. Tapos parang gusto po yata magsalita ni VP Sara regarding doon po. Bakit po hindi siya inalaw?
Kasi internal rules po namin yun eh. Kami-kami lang muna ang nangyayari po kasi kahapon, pati mga rules, kino-question po niya. So parang it is, yung manner po na ginagawa niya, it is like as if para po siyang member ng committee. Hindi naman po dapat ganon. Dapat kami po ang nagtatanong sa kanya, hindi naman po yung siya ang nagtatanong sa amin.
Sir, ito ba yung, naniniwala po ba kayo na ito yung dahilan kung bakit nag-adjourn din po agad si VP Sara?
Nagano?
Yung lumabas po agad sa loob ng People Center po.
Hindi, in fairness to the Vice President, nagpaalam naman siya na samahan yung kanyang staff. At meron naman po talagang medical situation kahapon. Tinawag natin yung ating medical doctor to check the Miss Gina Acosta at based nga po dun sa kanyang blood pressure, nag 150 over 100. Kaya in-advise kami nung kanyang nung doktor na magkaroon ng further examination kay Miss Gina Acosta.
Thank you, Chairman Chua, Chairman Conghun, Deputy Majority Leader Ortega, Assistant Majority Leader Bungalon, and Representative Gutierrez for joining us today. To everyone, lalo-lalo po sa engineering at saka sa ICTS at iba pang mga staff sa janitorial service na tumutulong sa amin dito. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. May magabigat.
They have to start
down ng POGOs hanggang deadline December 31. At the same time, yung just transition para sa mga nagtrabaho doon. Lalo na kung given yung statements ng iba nating resource persons na widespread nga yung POGOs, mukhang widespread din yung mga espionage-related activities na kasi hinahabi together yung economic activities ng POGO but also possibly criminal activities and possibly nga espionage. How long did it take you po to process the 1,000 plus birth certificates na na-deem spurious, kalaunan?
well, I actually, ma'am, to be frank, this study was initiated by our head, NS MAPA. So based on the 2010 to 2024
since all of these are in our database, and then it took us a while to come up with this data analytics, and this will be used for audits by our PSA field offices with the local CB registrars.
So, na-process yung 1,000 plus na yon in the past several months. Tama po ba?
We the parameters used, for example, ma'am, during the investigation, we've come up with some obvious factors that undergone delayed registration. For example, a hilot, yeah. So using that parameter and the delayed registration and the use of one of the parent is a foreigner. So these are the parameters used, and we use the 2010 to 2024 birth statistics data to come up with this statistics. The suspected 50,000 fraudulent birth delayed registrations.
Pero if I'm going to estimate na na-process niyo yung 1,000 plus na ito in the past several months, hindi naman naabot ng 24 and a half years para maproseso yung balanse pa nung 50,000? Is there a time frame, like kakayanin nyo ba within, I doubt matatapos nyo by December 31, pero kakayanin ba within a year or is it a several years? May time frame po ba kayong nakikita?
So if your query pertains to determining the data based on our database, we use that information, ma'am. And then based on this list, we go back to the local and check the records and the supporting documents that they have submitted during the delayed registration process.
So, yun na nga po, yung sinabi niyong 50,000 plus suspected fraudulent na birth certificates, kakayanin niyo ba in a year ma-vet kung talagang spurious sila or hindi naman sila spurious?
Well, we hope to complete before the end of this year, ma'am, because we have also field officers that are on top of these instructions from our head.
That is very good to hear po kung susubukan nyo talaga iyon. All right. And salamat din sa pagbibigay pansin ninyo na dapat hindi mapilay naman yung assistance nyo sa marginalized sectors na mga totoong Pilipino at nangangailangan ng assistance ng PSA para makapagrehistro. At tinatawag nga nila nitong isang NGO na Ideals na yung birth certificate natin, ito yung passport sa buhay. So ganun siyang kahalaga. Lalo na sa mga hirap makakuha niyan. And then thank you for the yung sinabi nyo, amendment to Act 353. Did I get the number right?
3753,
Oh
ma'am.
my God, sorry. 3753. Okay. So dating pa pala to the 1930s, no?
Yes.
Parang yung ating revised penal code and yung mga iba pa. So we need to update all of these. Salamat po, Engineer Marisa. Sec, wala naman kayong batas na gusto nyong amyendahan ng Kongreso o bagong batas na mag-file ng bill? And just before going on to the other agencies. Sorry po, I'm always catching people in the middle of your lunch. Sige po.
Madam Chair, sa ngayon po, wala pa po.
Wala naman. Okay. Salamat po muli, Attorney Labayo. Sa AMLAC, meron po bang nais ibilin kayo sa amin sa Senado? Well, balita muna mga reforma na ginagawa na or balak gawin, and then mga pagkukulang sa batas na tingin nyo dapat tugunan namin.
At present, Madam Chair, we have improved our risk-based supervision of covered persons. As regards introduction of a law, perhaps if I may humbly suggest the regulation of virtual currencies or cryptocurrencies. There is a high probability that these virtual assets were used in laundering because we had difficulty in our investigation in tracing the proceeds. So we highly suspect that cryptocurrencies were utilized and abused, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Attorney. Very well taken. And last but not the least, sa BI po, Bukod sa sagot yun na, Commissioner, ano pang mga reforma na ginagawa or gagawin at anong mga pagkukulang sa batas na dapat naming punuin
Thank you
or
very much, Your
iwasan?
Honor,
Yes,
for
sir.
the opportunity. As stated previously, Your Honor, we are modernizing our border check controls, but we need to further modernize through automation. And secondly, we need more manpower because we are contending with a 1940 law, a Commonwealth Act, addressing modern day problems, Your Honor. Ours is composed of 7,600 islands, 300,000 plus square kilometers of land area, 266,000 plus square kilometers of municipal and coastal waters, 2 million plus square kilometers of the exclusive economic zone, 12 international airports and 1 seaport being guarded by 1,800 plus immigration officers. So we're contending with a porous border manned by so few people, Your Honor. So I think that summarizes the need of the Bureau of Immigration for a new law. We are contending with modern day problems using an 84-year-old law. And it would be to the benefit not only of the Bureau, but of the country in general if we pass that law, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also, Commissioner. And I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. May DILG pala rito. Pwede po bang, if you would like to address the question, Mr. Ross Rafael Bascunia?
Good noon, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Madam
Good
Chair.
noon.
Yes po.
Director
Yes po.
Bascunia. Yes, sir.
As to the reform po, the DLG has already come up with the memorandum circular directing all local government units to conduct inventory and monitoring of establishments that may be involved in POGO operations. And as a matter of fact, Madam Chair, the raid that was conducted in the municipality of Mualbual, Cebu last month was triggered by the request of the municipal mayor to the Bureau of Fire Protection for them to reconduct a fire and safety inspection upon all resorts found in the municipality, Your Honor. And moving forward, Your Honor, we will continue monitoring compliance by the LGUs on this memorandum circular. And also, as to the needed legislation, Your Honor, we humbly request that the department be given disciplinary authority, if possible, over local government officials, because currently all we have is the power of general supervision, which is limited to the conduct of fact-finding and investigation, Your Honor.
Thank you, Director Bascunia. At sa pag-ulit din tungkol dun sa pagbibigay sa department ng disciplinary authority. I appreciate that kasi nabanggit na rin po yan ng isang resource person ng department in a previous hearing. Opo, para hindi lang kayo nag-i-inspect, hindi lang kayo nagfa-fact-finding, pero pag may natukoy kayong official ninyo na who's giving succor to POGOs or running POGOs themselves, ay pwede nyo silang disiplinahin. So maraming salamat po para doon. So friends, we have come to the end of a very long road. For 5 long years, well, counting our Pastillas investigation, the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality tried to leave no stone unturned to unravel the many evils brought to our shores by Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs. POGOs welcomed with open arms by the administration of former President Duterte. They have now been revealed to be nothing but a Trojan horse. They have exposed a web of people. Show this web. A web of people who used POGOs for their own selfish interests, their own personal gain, all at the expense of the Filipino people. Walang dinala dito ang mga POGO kundi bangungot. Despite the many heinous crimes unearthed by this committee, including large-scale scamming, corruption, kidnapping, torture, prostitution, and human trafficking, Our objective has never been to prove any single individual guilty. Guo Huaping, this committee has unmasked you as a Chinese national, mocking our Filipino identity to amass wealth and commit crimes against true Filipinos. But I leave your fate, Ms. Guo, up to the courts. And I look forward to the day you face justice. Masaya nga akong wala ka rito dahil kwes na ang kaharap mo. We abide by the rule of law in this country. And these hearings were never a trial for your crimes. The same goes for your co-conspirators and bad actors. What was on trial here, however, was our very system of laws and policies which allowed these travesties to go unchecked and to fester. Ang nalilitis natin dito ay ang katibayan at kasapatan ng ating mga batas para hadlangan ang abuso ng pogo. At ang hatol, nung tinimbang, nakakalungkot at kulang na kulang. Inabuso ang ating birth certificate registration, immigration procedures, passport at visa applications, pagtayo ng negosyo sa pangalan ng kumpanya, bank secrecy, at pati ang pribilehiyong lumahok sa eleksyon at maging kawani ng gobyerno. Ngayon, lumalabas na pati ang demokrasya at pambansang seguridad natin ay nailagay na sa panganib. Nagpapasalamat ako sa NICA sa inyong malinaw na testimonya at sa assurance na tututukan ang national security concerns na na-raise dito. Ayon sa PAOK, si Shi Zhejiang ay na nagsabing kapwa niya Chinese asset si Guo Huaping ay may mga pogo rin. Truly, foreign agents use all means at their disposal. And those who think that pogos are exempt are foolish. Natukoy ng pogo syndicates ang kahinaan ng ating mga batas. Sinamantala nila ito para magpakasasa, habang ang kapwa nila ay napipinsala. Pero bilang mga Pilipino, hindi natin papayagang magpatuloy ito. No, this is not a witch hunt. Hindi po ito tokhang. Yung nakasanayang nyong gawi, huwag nyong ibintang dito. The President has reiterated the unqualified ban on all pogos, maging sa ilalim man ng PAGCOR, ng eco zones o iba pa. Malinaw ang kanyang salita at ang kailangang linawin ang mga puwang ng EO74 sa lalong madaling panahon. Ang mga pogo within licensed casinos at ang mga pogo sa eco zones, even service providers to foreign pogos must be banned. At kung hindi ito malinaw para sa ilan at ito ang kanilang gagamiting lusot, I will file an amendment to the anti-pogo bill at the proper time. Binuo na nga ang Task Force Pogo Closure kasama ang DOJ, DOLE, PAGCOR, PAOK at BI. Tututukan natin ang kanilang trabaho. The Senate President has also committed to prioritizing the enactment of the anti-pogo bill to ensure that pogos, whatever they may be called or disguised as in the future, will forever be banned in our country. Paparusahan at papananagutin natin ang sino mang di sumunod, lalo na kung opisyal ng gobyerno. Ipapasa natin ang mga angkop na batas para paigtingin ang mga sistema kontra abuso sa civil registration, immigration, money laundering, kandidatura sa eleksyon at national security. The committee holds the DFA to its commitment to reach out to Shi Zhejiang for information in his possession on Guo Huaping, the Yang brothers, and other possible foreign agents. We will also seek to obtain these documents preparatory to the committee report. Even post-adjournment, the committee retains its jurisdiction insofar as seeking access to Shi Zhejiang is concerned. Friends, this may be the end of our hearings on POGO, but this is only the beginning of the legislative reforms that we will strive to push to ensure that every Filipino, to every Filipino, that there will never be another Alice Guo. Guo Huaping, sisiguraduhin ko na hindi ka na makakaulit dito. At matututo ang lahat sa gagawin sa'yo. Additionally, the arrest order of Alice Guo or Guo Huaping is quashed. Kina Alex Chong, Dale Ignacio, alias Ivy, alias Karina, alias Rita, this is for you. Sa mga biktima ng mga pogo sa loob at labas ng bansa, this is for you. Sa mga kababayan nating Pilipino na hirap makakuha ng ID, birth certificate at iba, pero araw-araw namumuhay ng may dangal at lumalaban ng patas, this is for you. Para sa bayan, kailanman. With many thanks to all our resource persons, this hearing is adjourned.